This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 846 for the week of Monday, December 9th, 2024. My name is Zach.
And my name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
And on today's episode, very special guest translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump and Manga Plus, we have Stephen Paul. How's it going, Stephen?
Hey, what's up, guys? Doing
How's
pretty
the
good,
weather
actually.
out there? San Diego.
Yeah, it's seasonal, which is like,
70
probably
and sunny and beautiful.
Yeah, disgustingly nice for you guys, but it's a little chilly at night. That's
like
what
60. Like, is
that? No, I mean it'll get down into the 40s.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
How are you doing other than the weather, Stephen?
Good. It's been kind of a bit of a vacation week for me, so I'm enjoying it now. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be completely miserable again.
Well, don't know what that's like.
No.
The sarcastically for the second part, not sarcastically for the first. We also have our composer for the music, writer for our website and many other websites. We have Kirsten Carey with us. How's it going, Kirsten?
Hello. It's occurring. Life is occurring.
Nothing truer has ever been said or spoken or written. We also have YouTube sensation. You may know him from our episodes in Whole Cake Island 7 years ago or something. I wish I were exaggerating. RogersBase is joining us. How's it going, Roger?
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Excited. I feel like this is probably one of my favorite chapters of the year, so I'm just thrilled to be here for this one specifically.
Roger, you have insane luck. You chose this week, too, I think.
I did. That was like months ago, too, because you were looking for open spots on the schedule, and then I did. I got very lucky with it.
You had, I remember, the Dr. Vegapunk reveal, I think.
I did.
Oh, you might have had... Was it the chapter where Robin talks about all of this? Were you watching that one, or was it right after?
It might have actually been the one where Robin and Saul... Like, she finds out that Saul's actually still alive, potentially.
It's
I think
right
I could
around
have been
there.
on that one. Yeah.
You've had every consequential chapter. I think we've discussed this before. Though.
Pretty much,
How are
yeah.
you, Roger?
I'm doing swimmingly, getting ready for the Game Awards next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll end up getting some One Piece announcements at Jump Festa. That'll be cool, too. So lots of stuff to make videos on.
So before before we get into the One Piece news, I do want to mention you should subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. I don't know if you call this news. I changed the names of the tiers to reflect a new 3-tiered system that's been introduced in One Piece. So we have the astral, what was it? The astral plane, the astral world, the sun world, and the underworld. I looked it up at the time. I just don't have it in front of me.
I didn't know the responsibilities that were placed on my shoulders when I was translating that stuff. So,
Stephen, every decision you make is incredibly consequential and will inevitably make someone angry.
Yeah.
You'll never learn, or you will never care. Is also possible.
Yeah, that's
that's probably more it. We also are giving a 7-day free trial for anyone who wants to join at the $5 or $10 range. So check that out.
Also, can't you gift Patreons now? Isn't that a whole thing? So people should
That's
gift
a good
Patreons
question.
to you guys.
I
I'm
should
pretty
know
sure
that.
you can. Yeah.
Roger, you have a Patreon, right?
I do not.
I thought
no.
you did.
I got
No?
the member program
Oh.
on YouTube.
That's true. Yeah, that's we're. What's the opposite of beyond something? Beneath something?
Beneath? No,
that still sounds like that's
I was
we're
going to say
not up
Patreon's
to.
definitely better than the YouTube membership thing. I just find it's like easier to have it instantly connect.
No, I get it. Although I don't get it. But by supporting us on Patreon, you also support articles like the ones Kirsten is writing. Kirsten, do you want to let people know what we just published, like right before we started recording?
Oh boy, did we? Yeah.
Well, it's online. I haven't announced it as of this recording, but when people are listening, it's going to be online.
It's going to be online. Yeah, we're starting a new thing where we're doing, I'm writing weekly reactions, reviews, deep dives into the chapters, kind of finding like the specific chapters in One Piece history where things have been referenced from. Mostly, actually, I can't take credit for that. Most of the hunting comes from Ken O'Connor because he is a font of knowledge. And then I write it up and we're posting it on the website, and it's week 2 of this new experiment. If anyone out there has anything they want to see in this new space, definitely reach out to me on Blue Sky or whatever and let me know. We're still experimenting, and Also, thank you for all the kind words last week. There were some really nice listeners who had some really nice words, and that made me happy.
People on the internet could be nice occasionally.
It's really nice when that happens.
It is. It's like finding a pearl in a thing of no pearls. That makes sense. Kirsten, but really, thank you. You've written some really amazing articles. We did one on Einstein that I think you should check out. It's about Dr. Vegapunk and Einstein. It's not just about Einstein. Though I found out some interesting stuff in that one, yeah.
Yeah, spoiler alert. In researching that article, I found out that Einstein talked about a world government, capital W, capital G. So that was a very interesting discovery that you can read about in the article.
Yeah, the morality of Einstein is a very interesting, and Vegapunk are both equally interesting, and a lot more. So check that out, and that's the stuff on Patreon helps to fund stuff like that. So if you want more of that kind of stuff in the future, that's the longest Patreon pitch I've made in a while because I hate self-promotion. But that's also because I'm avoiding sad news. So I think we should talk about the news. I think it came out today. Actually, Alex, would you be okay going through that for us?
Yes. So, if anybody has been watching the anime in the last year, Kazuki Yao's voice has not been what it has usually been. So it turns out that Kazuki Yao will be stepping down as the role of as the voice of Frankie at it's been confirmed on the official Ichiro staff account on Twitter and Instagram, as well as Yao's personal Twitter. His post reads, "A sad farewell has come. A goodbye to someone I've walked through life with for almost a quarter a century. Maybe you could call it an out-of-body experience. There's now a rift between the Frankie I consider ideal and myself. And because of that, I've decided to step off the sunny for a while. I'm frustrated. I'm sad. I'm truly sorry. But I've prepared a super replacement. Please look forward to Jump Festa on December 22nd. So on December 22nd, yes, the successor to Frankie's voice will be announced, and a graduation ceremony for Kazuki Yao will be held.
I'd say the only acceptable use for a robot would be in that role, I'm now thinking, since no one could replace him. Since he would be an actual robot, then.
As
I'm
someone
joking,
who's...
it's a joke.
Yeah. So as someone who's been a longtime fan of his, I'm obviously sad. It doesn't really come as a shock, especially if you've heard him speak. He's I'm not going to assume anything, but he's been pretty skinny in the last year and a half to the point of looking sickly, and he had to step away from doing Django's voice for an episode because of health reasons. So I really truly hope he's doing okay, and that and that maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll hear him again. Maybe.
I mean that is the way he kind of wrote it too. Hopefully. Yeah,
he says for now, and I like that. I like that as a it's not goodbye, it's see you later type thing. But
yeah, for sure.
At the very least, I look forward to seeing who the next voice will be and what take they will have on it, on the character. If it's going to be a sound-alike or something totally new. And of course, this means that Bon Clay's voice will eventually have to be replaced if this is going to be a long-term replacement, which is even harder, I think, to parse. Anyway.
And Django. I mean, that's one of the reasons I wanted to let you speak about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Django has been replaced at this point by I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but
the voice of Bellamy, right?
Yes, Tataki Wataru. Yeah, Bellamy, and he voiced Django in Django's Dance Carnival, which aired before,
and to a lesser extent,
movie 2.
Vanderdecken.
And he was also Zoro in the original OVA pilot. Of
Yes.
One Piece.
Yes,
Yeah.
in the Genzak special, he is Zoro. So he's not a stranger to the world of One Piece. Whether or not he's going to be the successor remains to be seen, but we'll see who Yao's super replacement will be.
Kind of funny if it winds up being him.
I'm sure that there was more involved in the decision to kind of delay the anime and do this thing, but it is kind of nice that it gives them a little bit of a time when the anime is on pause to do this for Yao and not have to worry about like, oh, well, is he going to be, because we got to record audio, that they don't have to worry about the timing or anything like that. They can just do this, the graduation, which of course is that's a idol terminology that whenever you leave, you graduate. You don't, you don't quit or you don't, depart or whatever. It's always a graduation. So it's a nice chance to give him his flowers before he goes, which is well deserved, of course.
Yeah.
Stephen, I guess you can probably see the original. We have it in the chat in the Discord
Of Yao's
for
message.
this episode. Yeah, if there's anything that translation missed, but it seems pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward thing. I do think it is kind of notable that he admits that like there's a bit of a rift between like where he wants to be and where he thinks Frankie belongs, because it's the sort of thing that like obviously they didn't say anything about that in the official message. So that was Yao's chance to admit that, like, it's not, I don't sound right. I don't sound like the way that Frankie is supposed to sound. But it was, I thought, notable that he actually, mentioned that. Because a lot of people, I think you would just say, oh yeah, health reasons, and everybody, the audience is like, well, yeah, he sounded pretty bad, So there, it was a very open, I think, admission on his part, and that definitely struck me.
Well, I think what's interesting too about all of that as well is that like this goes to show you how big One Piece is, right? How monumental this is that one of the main characters is stepping down from the role.
Yeah.
In that like they're actually making a big deal about it.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like if Tanaka had to step away from Dragon Ball, and somebody else had to play Krillin. Like that's I would consider it the same, like on the same level, because I don't recall this happening in anime news at all ever really. This type of thing, it's usually somebody either leaves and then they die 2 months later. That's just how the way it's been anyway with with voice actors.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with like the over the generations for like Doraemon and Chibi Maruko-chan and shows like that, where they definitely have had like multiple generations of actors who come and go. But I don't remember, the particulars of when, they would step back. I'm sure that this sort of thing has happened before, but obviously, the shonen type shows are much rarer that they get, a quarter of a century long, where you actually have to look at, replacing actors.
Sure.
Due to age. Yeah.
It does kind of make you think too, like in the lead up to the new Studio Wit remake of One Piece, right? Like I think there's a lot of discussion and speculation regarding like whether or not they are going to keep some of that original voice cast or if they're going to do something new. And I almost feel like this is like not quite a litmus test, right? But I do think this is like a good opportunity for the fandom at large to sort of like get used to change. Obviously we all want what's best for his health.
Oh, sure.
And I think him stepping away is obviously a good thing for him, and everyone wants him to get better. But I do think there is sort of a situation in which like people have been so used to these characters sounding a certain way that I think if maybe the new voice actor does something different, right, and doesn't actually try to replicate exactly how he did Frankie, that might actually be a good thing too. It's just sort of like a time will tell situation. But I do think, again, it's ripping the Band-Aid off now, almost like getting people used to what we're probably going to be seeing moving into the future with that new remake from Studio Wit.
Yeah, not to move the conversation to something like totally different, but
Yeah.
But they could do something with recasting the cast and then having them pop up occasionally as like
we talked about
Totally.
that.
Totally.
yeah, like having Tanaka be like maybe the narrator for the first episode or something to
She should be the
pass
narrator for
torch.
the whole thing. I feel like that would be a lot of fun.
Or even like with Kazuki Yao. I
Tanaka
think
should
it's
be
good-
Gold Roger.
There you go.
Yeah, she should. She would do a great job. It would be really funny. She should do it as like an old lady, like the voice that she does as an old
Turbo
lady.
Granny.
Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
It was in fan letters. Her old lady.
her Obahan voice. Yeah.
Yeah, her and Space Brothers. I know Brooke, and for those who haven't seen it, Brooke and Luffy's voice, so Cho and Tanaka are both parents. Their parents in that, and it is hilarious. What I was going to say about Yao is I do well. First of all, there are maybe like literally a handful of voice actors who have made such an impression on me as to like the art of being a seiyuu and being in anime as he has. He's such a larger than life personality from the stories that I've heard. And Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, I was trying to find it in the SBS that the character Frankie was really made specifically for Yao.
I don't recall that, but that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I don't think it was in an SBS, but it might have been in some sort of interview. But I do recall that as well.
Yeah.
That, or at the very least, he had Yao in mind when drawing him.
Yeah.
Which I think I've said this on the podcast before, that my personal, like, because him and Yao are actually like, they've been tight for a really long time. And Yao would actually, like, during the first year or two of One Piece being on air, would be at events, like, and my theory is that Django is not based on Michael Jackson, but physically, like appearance wise, based on Yao, because I think
it looks like him. Yeah,
do
a little bit.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never even put
Especially
that
back
together.
then too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I do want to read. I happened to get very lucky and pull off the shelf. For those who might remember, there were SBSs for each of the voice actors in the back of volumes around the time skip. It happens to be 61. The big time skip volume is Yao's. I just want to read a little. It has nothing to do with this conversation, but it's fun. So this question, Frankie, Bon Clay, or Django, which one is closest to your own personality? I have something in common with all of them, like I'm always wearing sunglasses and regular glasses. I like cross-dressers, and I'm always wearing nothing but my underwear at home. Hello, Yao. Yeah, he is. Hello, Yao. You used to play enemy characters. How do you feel when you found out you'd be playing Frankie? I thought, I'm finally a friend. And you've played Django, Mr. 2, Frankie, and many other roles in One Piece, but out of all of them, which one did you think was the most fun? To be honest, Bon Clay, but I can't wait to play the new Frankie too, as he had just been reintroduced.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Django, I mean, that voice is like, when you hear him again as Mr. 2, it's like, oh my god, that's just the same voice. But it's like one of those like voices that are iconic. I know it's it is. It's like
he's got a smoker's voice though, so it's sort of like if Julie Kavner, it's like if Julie Kavner plays multiple characters, you can tell that it's Julie Kavner.
I was gonna say it's like an H. Sean Benjamin, where it's like such an or Patrick Warburton, where it's like it's a. Not that they sound anything alike, but that they're super iconic in whatever they're in, and they don't have to change their voice; they're just automatically iconic.
This is me as Sterling Archer. This is me as Bob from Bob's Burgers. Yeah, right, exactly.
But it's like, that's the voice I want. It's like they had,
of course.
they had what's his name play Master Shake as the Alchemist and Venture Brothers doing the same voice, even though he did
Dana Snyder.
Dana Snyder.
Yeah.
It's that same kind of thing.
Yeah, if you have a voice like that, then that's what you do. That interview is interesting because like the interviewer must have clearly been a fan of Tokusatsu because, well, no, not just Tokusatsu, but I know he plays villains in a lot of stuff like Bastard. But he was a hero character. He was Judo Ashita in Double Zeta Gundam, the main character of that show.
Well, now I have to watch. I need to at some
you don't
point
need
watch
to actually,
Zeta and
you
Double
actually
Zeta.
don't need to watch
no,
Double Zeta.
I don't.
It's okay. It's
but
fine.
It has such
it's
good
not the
intros.
worst, but
or openings.
Yeah.
Kirsten. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say, like, I got to go to the One Piece like stunt show at Universal Studios Japan this last year, and it was actually my second time going, and both times, like the only like completely like without needing to be told to do so, whenever Frankie did super, the entire audience would do super with him. And it's
when I was at USJ, what was that, 12 years ago? They did the same thing. Yeah.
It just like, I kept thinking about that moment when I heard this news, because it's sort of like the most iconic, like catchy line in One Piece, like the most iconic like single line, and you can hear it in your head when you see it on the page, and you know,
agreed.
Yeah.
I think I know he also, I was going to say before that I know he took a tour of Las Vegas in America for that the Sphere show, and around that time, right? And I think he did a bunch of traveling. I wonder if that was kind of his, farewell, tour of seeing people. And he's not dead. I'm not saying that. But if he is in ill health, or at the very least, if he's just like, I'm not able to do this role the way I want to, I could. I'm sure there's nothing you do for like a quarter of a century and don't have some attachment to.
Sure.
So I'm sure. It was very nice to see him out and about then. I hope he is, doing whatever he needs to do to get healthy, including if he needs to step aside. I do kind of hope that for Julie Kavner, too.
You were mentioning that the Las Vegas trip, and actually a fun thing is if you are in Las Vegas and you go to the One Piece Cafe that opened there, he actually signed the wall where Frankie was, because he went and visited and like did a video with Shueisha. So if you ever like, oh, I want to, take a picture with the signature, you can in the States at the One Piece Cafe.
Make it a pilgrimage.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
I really don't want to go to Las Vegas, but I guess. Steven, I know Greg is a huge Frankie fan in particular. I know that's like one of the Oda signatures he has was requested as Frankie.
Right.
I guess you'll talk about it in the SGS next time you do it more in depth.
Sure.
I don't know if you've had a chance to speak. I don't want you to speak on his behalf about that, but I'll think of Greg, from here. Anyway, was there other news? I think there was.
Yes.
That was pretty groundbreaking.
That was the big one
today. More bad news. Crunchyroll. You probably heard this.
That was this week, huh?
Yeah. This has been a week. As you said, yeah.
Wow. I'd say that's like the second biggest story to come out of this week, of the first week of December 2024.
Way to date that. No, I mean, that's obviously we're dated.
You date the episodes every week?
Beginning. Oh,
you say the date?
Oh, no.
Start the episode.
Oh, no. I thought they were evergreen.
I'm not like coming in here saying, oh, where's the beef?
What is it, 1983? Speaking of Crunchyroll, it's true, actually. I've been in the car with you. It's only 80s on 8 for you. Crunchyroll will soon require a premium membership to watch, I'm saying this like it's a good thing, to watch One Piece arcs starting from episode 207 onward. These are the arcs you're going to lose. December 23rd, Water 7 to Fishman Island. January 20th, Punk Hazard to Whole Cake, and February 17th, Reverie to Egghead. I don't know how recent that actually means.
I
didn't know they were free to watch. That's new to me.
Yeah, I was new to me too. This is what we get for being in our 30s.
Yeah.
Also, aren't those available on Netflix? Like, or am I mistaken? Aren't there some of those
Netflix you have to
available?
pay for.
Oh,
even the
true,
ad version.
Yeah.
Crunchyroll, they were always free with ads, but I think, and even with new episodes, I think maybe 2 weeks later they'd be free to watch with ads. But I think they changed that too. I think starting with Egghead, probably because now it's on Netflix as well. Yeah, it sucks.
I'm a little confused too, just from the marketing end of things. Not that I know anything about marketing, clearly, but that I thought a lot of these streaming platforms were trying to make more things like ad-driven in order to make money off of that. So it's kind of weird to me that they're going in the opposite direction here and making people pay for it. Because that's like what Netflix is doing, which is bizarre to me.
Right.
Yeah. Like, let's make it into cable TV, the eventual full circle here that we're making. But
yeah, I mean, it's, One Piece is a unicorn in the industry here. So, they whatever the reason is behind this decision, it's probably because, the people who own the material have an ability to negotiate specific.
I'm
special
assuming I would not
contracts.
be surprised if Toei was the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I mean, and, like you said,
there's a 50-50 there.
They have a relationship with Netflix, so there's definitely other angles to consider too, as far as like where they're signing their contracts and stuff. So,
we don't know what's actually going on behind the scenes. I will say so Blue Sky I've really been enjoying because I've been seeing what people are actually saying to us. And boy, did people have opinions on this specific story. They were there was I don't know, vitriol, just like what basically how Steve expressed it. Like, well, why would you do this? Like, this is disappointing all over. And I think, you forget when you get a little older, not having a credit card or anything and wanting to watch an anime that, I think One Piece to me, first of all, I want it as available as it can be legally. But like, why not? I feel like it's a good entry point for anyone. Like when you watch 1,000 episodes of something, you're into anime now. You're stuck. Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe like at Jump Festa, they're going to be like, all right, and you can watch it with ads on YouTube now or something. Like there could be anything around the corner. For
That's true.
That's interesting. You bring that up. Yeah, they just did that recently with Pokemon. Pokemon just made an official and with fan letter, that's right. Yeah. But they literally just put up, obviously it's not Toei, but they put up like an official Pokemon TV channel where now all of the original, I think it's like the first 20 or 25 Indigo League episodes have been uploaded where you could watch it both like subbed and dubbed. And so that would be cool if you can do that. Yeah.
Wow. Oh wait, no, is that a thing though?
Yeah, for Pokemon. Yeah, it's like a soft launch thing.
My God.
Wow. You can watch all the even like the original old Veronica Taylor dubs and everything.
Oh no. Yeah. I'm more excited about the sub version.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The sub version
I had to legally download. I mean, I had to. Did I say legally download? I mean, find somewhere.
Right, exactly.
The sub version of
I had some magic out of thin air. Yeah.
I don't know the name of the channel in Japan, but I know recently they have done that. And so if you look it up, you should be able to find a link to it. Yeah, but there's like,
really
and it's
cool.
only
That's
select
special.
episodes. It's not like the whole thing, but I do wonder if that's like a step to come.
Well, if you want the whole thing, get on my Plex.
There you go.
Yeah, that's also
not an
Alex's
invitation.
Plex.
There you go.
I want to add, as a good segue here, there's another thing that's on YouTube, I think for free, basically, is Vicky the Viking, I have found out.
Whoa, really?
I think it's legal. I think it's like legit, but yeah.
Even if it's not legit,
it's from Vicky.
It's
like Vic the Viking. No, it's the dub. It's the
wow, cute.
very early, like,
That's
it looked
great.
like Rocky and Bullwinkle era dub.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's fun.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
That's why I was segueing into it, because today we are going through chapter 1133, the one where we cry. That's what it's called. And
It's a Friends episode.
I don't know why I turned it. Sorry, the crying Seinfeld episode. Let's get straight into that before we divert into something else.
Hi, I'm Steve Yurko.
And I'm Tara Sands. Now available from Maji Media is our new podcast, 4Kids Flashback. 4Kids is the company who brought you the English dub of Pokemon in the late 90s and so many other shows like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Shaman King, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kirby, the infamous One Piece dub, and so many more.
We'll be talking to the people who worked at 4Kids. Actors, directors, writers, editors, producers, engineers, you get the point. And hopefully get the answers to questions both you and I have about the company.
I actually worked there as a voice actor on some of the shows.
And I was a kid watching the shows and remember way more than Tara does.
And thank God for that. Steve is actually a professional storyboard artist, which gives some really unique insights into anime and animation. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts. That's the number 4 Kids Flashback. If you are listening to this One Piece podcast, here's another podcast you might want to know about. My name is Tara Sands. I'm a voice actor from shows like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Shaman King. And I host a podcast along with Steve Yurko called 4 Kids Flashback, where we do a deep dive into the company that brought these shows to English-speaking audiences. And we even go behind the controversial One Piece dub. We have amazing guests, lots of actors you know, like Eric Stewart, Veronica Taylor, Dan Green, David Moo is coming up, Kerry Williams, people from One Piece that you might have not heard a lot of interviews with before. We also have interviews with behind-the-scenes people like Norman Grossfeld, the president of 4 Kids, people from the licensing department, the editors, the music people, the One Piece rapper, Sean Conrad. Don't miss his episode. So if you want to learn more, go to 4kidsflashback.com. That's the number 4 Kids Flashback, available on all podcast platforms. Thanks.
This is the manga recap for chapter 1133, Nice Things. This chapter and all chapters are available at shonenjump.viz.com or mangaplus.shueisha.co.jp, where unlike Crunchyroll, they are free for the first 3 and the last 3 chapters. Actually, it's a lot like Crunchyroll. But at least
way to go.
Yeah, I really messed that up. But they're free.
At least the rest of it's only
$2 a month.
The cost of a stick of gum or whatever.
Well, plus you get like a Akane Banashi, which is the only other thing.
Stick of gum?
Me. I do.
I would like one stick of gum.
No one buys a single cigarette. No one buys a single stick of gum.
Oh man, my breath is sort of bad right now. I don't think I need it for the rest of the day. Just for the next 30 minutes.
We talked,
and I don't want to suck on anything.
This is getting very specific.
I'd rather be chewing.
So we talked about Pokemon. It's only fair that I read the author comment from this week, thanks to Adil for finding it. The update in Pokemon Go, where you could keep track of your friends' raids and participate, is an awesome update. But my editor was keeping track of my raids. Trying to.
This is
good.
This is me not wanting anyone I work with to follow me on social media.
Yep. Yep. I'd add that this is why he took the 2 weeks off most recently. Not really. I'm just giving him a hard time.
It's like when you say it's time. I'm going to go to bed. It's time to sleep now. And then at 2 a.m. they're still tweeting. You're like, what the fuck? Couldn't spend time with me, huh?
Yeah.
Name is still green on Discord.
Well, I think I'm always green. I forget to do anything.
Oh, see, I'm always invisible. I don't want anyone ever contacting me ever. I want to be the one to initiate.
Do that.
That's how I'm never. Yeah,
smart.
I don't want that.
I did that on Skype back in the day, or AIM. Maybe I think I did that. Before we age ourselves more and date this podcast, Steve, let's get into the cover page here. Alex, do you want to do the cover page?
Yeah, I'll do the cover page.
Yeah.
And so this is the beginning of the first page of chapter 1133, Nice Things. And before I get to our cover story today, I just want to say that I was like, is this this is why we can't have nice things?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I hope this is a good chapter.
This is what Mickey Rooney was championing on those Twilight Zone commentaries.
Oh, yeah. Nice things, not sexy things. Sexy things.
That's what like.
That's right. They don't like nice things, but we like nice things, which is this chapter. Yogurt Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 20. Wow, we're at 20 already. That's crazy. Holden attacks. Drop your valuables.
I love the
Holden?
sequel to Catcher in the Rye.
Okay, all right. You guy makes one typo and he's got to hear about it.
Steven,
it's Hold'em. Hold'em, that's right. Yeah. I forgot. It's Hold'em.
Yeah,
not Hold'em.
it's funny too because like just this past week, in my read through, I'm in the middle of Onigashima fighting, and I forgot that there was an SBS where I think it was Oda's picture. Like I don't think it was a reader submission, but it was a picture of Hold'em, but he spelled it like HOLEDEM, like hold, like you cornholed them or something. Which I remember we made a lot of fun of when we did that. That's
I have no memory.
Throw a beanbag into the lion's mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
HOLDENN. Drop your valuables again.
I like
Thank
that.
you very much. Appreciate
That's
it.
good. I actually like that one, Roger.
I'm glad those phonies are finally going to get what's coming to them. This is what you get for writing a curse word on a wall.
So anyway, it's Hold'em.
Yes.
Remember Hold'em, guys?
Vaguely.
You know,
I've-
head of a sort of
Yep,
cat.
sure hate him.
Crotch of a lion.
I'm going to be honest here too, Steven. Reading this, I'm like, that is a typo, but I don't remember why at first. It took me a second. It's off, but I can't put my finger in it. Go ahead.
So Hold'em's repeating the hits. Kidnapping Toko, of course. He's got a big old sword.
That's Tama. Toko.
Oh, that's Tama. I'm sorry.
See,
yes.
man,
Anyway,
You're
That's
forgetting.
Toko.
Thank you.
Wano has
And Toko.
so many characters that like everyone is just
It really
Tama,
does.
Toko, Hold'em. It doesn't matter. Speed.
Wano has their own Kaku, which is
It's like fucking regional Pokemon.
Wano and
That's what it
Kaku. That's great.
that's
Do an
good.
episode
That's good.
title with the cover image. Go ahead.
Regional Kaku.
We
Or
can.
it'll be like our 10th Kaku image.
Yeah, Jesus.
Love
that
minimum.
guy.
He's our MVP. So here's Hold'em. His lion, there's smoke billowing out of his mouth, and then in the background you see Horselina, or Speed, I guess, as is her actual name. She's been sort of run through by Hold'em. Or could he shoot fireballs out of the lion's mouth? Is that
Truly
a thing?
do not remember.
Yeah. Well, I guess he can do that now. Anyway, Yamato is pretty shocked at this development, and like I said, yes, he's playing the hits. He has Tama.
It's like deja vu.
Anyway,
all over again.
yeah, what do y'all think of this?
I don't care in the
Oh,
slightest.
brother.
I know. I'm like,
There you go.
This guy stinks.
Well, we're all on the same page here.
I was gonna.
I for one hope he gets hit in the balls again.
Me too.
I can't help but roll my eyes because when you pointed out that it's the 20th volume of
Right.
this,
I
know.
Yeah.
God. I feel like I feel like Yamato barely
It's crazy.
left the fucking flower capital.
Greg mentioned how like kind of inconsequential it has felt, and I very much agree with
I
that
am curious,
analysis.
without like looking it up, I'm curious like what the longest cover story was. Because it does feel
was,
like where we are in this currently should be way further than we actually are.
Well, I know
Zach's the one to know.
Yeah, the Grand Fleet one with my favorite Orlumbus cover stories, by the way.
That one was like
Folding
that
laundry.
one was like 10 volumes by itself.
That one,
Wow.
which was amazing because it was clear that Oda did not know what he was going to do next with the cover stories and kept dragging it out, and it was really funny.
We saw
Orlumbus
Folds his laundry, yeah.
Orlumbus folds his
Yeah,
laundry.
folds his
Orlumbus
laundry.
goes to the laundromat.
Oh my
Orlumbus
God.
Visits
gets into a fight with
relatives.
the guy at the laundromat.
Minneapolis,
Orlumbus finds
Maryland.
his laundromat ticket.
Or-
Orlumbus gives his laundromat ticket to the guy. The guy died. That's
too
really
exciting
wild.
for us.
Orlumbus
That's too
visits
exciting.
relatives in Annapolis,
In
Maryland.
Annapolis, Maryland. Yeah.
So if you count that all as one, which I guess it is, that would be the longest. I'm trying to think if there's another standout.
Because the assumption,
I think that's the one.
overall, right, is that this is eventually going to culminate in Yamato going to Old Wano, right? Like the thing that we saw with Law and with Robin, where it's like the discovery of that portion of Wano, because I don't know where else this could possibly go and have it be even remotely interesting to me.
It could go nowhere. It could go.
But it definitely, there's no way he
story.
would do this and use this character that is beloved and not do something interesting.
Look what they
with
did,
the cover story.
Roger. Look what they did to Gadatsu. I mean, he's only owning a spa now.
But that was actually
that
somewhat interesting. It was good.
No, it was great.
I loved it.
It was really good. I loved the
Gadatsu one's the
Gadatsu
most
one.
forgettable
I mean, back
one.
then
It's forgettable, but it's good.
Yeah.
No, Gadatsu's isn't forgettable because it was how it was revealed that Pell had survived.
Oh my God, you're right.
Pell, no. Pell. They
Oh,
showed
no,
Pell
that's right. The
survived
doctor
at
was
the
like,
end
"Oh
of that
yeah,
episode.
here's your headband or whatever."
You forgot your headband.
You forgot your headband that resembles that is a symbol of your youth.
I like that he's still wearing his same like uniform. Like I wonder if he's doing the Sergeant Yokoi thing like in the jungles of Guam. He doesn't know that the war is over. He's still like fighting for Kaido.
I bet you that's what's happening.
That could be a thing.
That might be very well what is happening. Yeah.
Kirsten, do you have something?
Oh
you
yeah,
want to say?
no,
Sorry,
I
think we cut you off,
remember
yeah.
the golden days in the beginning of this where the hope was maybe that this would somehow magically culminate in Yamato getting their fill of Wano, leaving Wano, and then finding the Straw Hats, and those days feel very far away.
Unfortunately.
I'll say we've also been spoiled with cover stories and relevancy. They've been really relevant recently.
Yeah, because now they're happening like simultaneous.
Well, the
Here's the
Germa
thing.
double six
Sure.
ish one.
Before let's move on to the chapter
Yeah,
again. But
yeah.
before we do, allow me to just remind you that Caribou's story happened.
Yeah.
You know what?
and
Not the worst.
We should be
though.
counting. We should be counting our blessings.
It's a very good. There's some really funny bits in it, like the grandma,
Dead grandma.
It was pretty
the
good.
pie, the fact that he becomes Che Guevara for some reason.
Jigaburu.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that one now that I'm thinking about it.
It's actually
I
the
like-
Caribou
yeah.
is an awful character, but that is a good cover
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
That was a
It was a good use of a bad character.
Agreed.
Yes.
I'll say the
by the way-
Jinbei one is iffy of like all of them.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Jinbei had
Oh.
one.
yeah.
That he did, yeah. Well, just God, Che Gaburu. That is the equivalent of Jafar calling on Prince Abu.
Alex, you can go into the
Never
chapter
felt
now.
air move through my nose like that before.
So, 22 years ago. 22 years ago.
Oh, this is going to be just as jovial, I'm sure.
Oh,
Everything's gonna
absolutely.
be great here.
Oh no, it's going to be really great because yeah, it was 2020. Yeah, 22 years ago I actually started reading One Piece.
So I was going to say, interesting fact. So 22 years ago was 2002, right? Now,
Oh,
22 years...
same.
22 years,
I technically started watching it in 2020 or 2001 is when I started watching it, but I started reading it.
What's crazy is, though, 22 years, I think, from when Ohara happened in the manga was 1983 or something like that, 1985. Anyway, just time it's more of a time dilation thing. Okay,
You're saying
whatever.
the equivalent of Ohara taking place was 1983?
Yeah, mid 1980s. Yeah.
Zach, the year is 2024. You say that at the
I'm
beginning
saying-
of every podcast.
No, I'm saying the equivalent to 2005 when it came out.
I'm glad
This is
Steve
like
thought the
canon
same thing, though,
next
because I'm
March.
sitting over here like, wait, what? Am
I
I
was
doing
so
time wrong?
confused
Like,
by
what?
that. Oh, so this would be like if we jump back to 1983. I'm like, no.
I'm saying we're as far today from Ohara happening
As
the
1983
mid-
was
80s.
from when...
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was introduced. I see.
Yeah, that's what I said it poorly.
Oh, brother.
Next
Yeah,
month.
Reaganomics were in full swing in the new world.
Anyway, it's a flashback. We're starting with a flashback. You can tell because the borders are black. 22 years ago, and we see a ship exploded, and you hear screams. The scene in Ohara, it chilled me to my spine. That was an atrocity. The evacuation ship, packed with innocent civilians, suddenly exploded and went down in flames. And then we see that this person who's talking is Spandine. Shitheel extraordinaire. To my dying day, I'll never forget the sounds of the screams that emerged from the fire. And he's talking to some reporters who say, and Nico Robin did that. And he continues, "Not only that, but several other battleships were also sunk. She's a demon in the body of an 8-year-old girl. The government won't go into detail about the story." Well, I guess no, he's not saying this, but everybody else is. "The government won't go into detail about the story. The truth is so shocking and brutal that it will traumatize children." And we see government soldiers sort of like, marching or whatever. And we hear some other, I guess this is the news. "If you see her, don't approach. Just tell the authorities." And we see that we're at a unknown island here. And we hear, "What? There's a criminal on the island?" And then there's this old lady.
So this old
She goes,
lady,
"I met her."
someone, I forgot who pointed out, but this same old lady, I think
Yes.
Ken.
right?
Yeah.
Who sold Robin out,
you
yes.
remember Dead Grandma. Well, here's Deadbeat Grandma from Robin's flashback who
Dead-eyed
tried
grandma.
selling her out. Yeah, she had
right.
that weird kind of just
Yeah.
like blank, kind of face. Yeah,
It's a good
merciless.
design in that, it
She's
conveys that.
recognizable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
So Deadbeat Grandma says, "I met her. She had the eyes of a killer."
lady, you got the eyes of a killer.
Let's see. And then we have this little montage of Robin living in squalor as a street urchin. She's digging through the trash trying to find something to eat, and she's hanging out with a dog who can only eat fish bones, who's only afforded to eat fish bones. And we hear she's got the brain of a veteran scholar, but no human emotions to go with it. Look at that bounty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Grab your guns and let's hunt her down.
Alex, what I was just going to say about that specific panel is I assumed it was supposed to juxtapose with the speech in that she has no emotions, but she's feeding a dog while she's in squalor.
yeah.
I think...
I don't know. She's not feeding the dog. The dog's just like
Hanging
in
out.
the
No,
mouth.
because you see... Oh, okay. Maybe I'm...
Dog's like, "What did you find? I got a bone."
Oh, see, I definitely think I read
Yeah,
that
but-
incorrectly,
No,
too, because it looks like she's literally giving him the bone. On the...
No, I think she is, and you could see her looking for it there, it looks like, I thought, and then feeding it to
And
They're
her.
like
both chomping.
crying
No,
as
I
she's
kind of read it
looking
as
for
she's
it.
going through the garbage. Yeah, just
Yeah.
as much as the dog
Dang.
is. Like she's on the same level as of a
Right,
It's like
I get
Earthbound.
that,
You
but-
go through garbage to try and
I
find
thought
a
it was-
burger, and you
and
get
call
a
your
burger.
dad to save.
I thought it was more supposed to show her
He gets
actual...
bent if I don't pick up the phone within 3 rings.
that she was emotional. Yeah,
So
but go
it was
ahead.
her freegan phase. She was dumpster diving.
It was her freaking face. She was a freegan. Where'd you go dumpster diving? Dean and DeLuca? So we see her bounty poster, and everybody says, "Hey, let's grab your guns and hunt her down. Don't be fooled by appearances. Her mercy is your mercy is wasted on her." And we see a shadowy group of brigands here who are thirsty for that $79 million bounty, or million berry bounty. My bad. Million double dollars. We continue. I guess the news or people who are talking about her. It continues. She uses freakish sorcery. Catch her as quickly as you can. She's in the rain here. Robin's in the rain, shivering. And then we have like a panel of this lady who looks like Amanda Plummer in Pulp Fiction, with her baby. "I can't sleep at night knowing she's out there." And then we have this old man who looks like, kind of looks like my great uncle from like 20 years ago. Says, "I just wish she'd die already." And then we see Robin sort of hiding behind a building while the people are chasing her. "Why can't the Navy hurry and finish her off? She's a menace to the world." So we have a little panel here of Robin on a cliffside. And who knows what she's thinking, but before we can figure out what she's thinking, she has a little flashback of one of the last things her mother said to her, which is, "Live, Robin." And you see the tears welling up in her eyes as we go to the next page.
I
And-
do love. Sorry to haul you back. I do love that guy that
Please.
you talked about, looking like your uncle. He's definitely he's that guy. He's one of those character actors where you're like, oh, he's in this movie. He just has a great face. I love that face. Sorry.
The Richard kind of one.
Yeah, exactly.
Richard kind would never.
I was going to say, how dare you insult Richard Kind?
Her the flashback within a flashback continues. Robin is talking to Saul, who says, "Listen carefully, Robin. You are all alone right now, but someday, without a doubt, you will meet friends." And here she is. She's basically saying to nobody on this cliff, "But Saul, I'm so scared. Everyone scares me." And you hear his voice echo, "When it's unbearable, remember what I taught you. Just laugh like this. Darashishishishishi." And there's this really effective 4 panels here in the middle of this page where she stopped at a bookseller on the street, opens up an atlas, and she sort of looks at the map there and she says, "It's not there." And I suppose the proprietor grabs her by the arm and says, "Hey, what do you think you're..." And we see her, she has like a quill in her hand, and she drops the book, and she has marked where O'Hara should be on the map with the pen. Which is this is a really, really cool detail. Mm-hmm. And we hear the reports about Robin continue. "I hear she travels from town to town, killing and robbing people. She lowers their defenses with her childish looks, then slits their throats in the night. Ugh, it's insane. I wish she'd just die. Stupid brat deserves to be dead in a ditch somewhere. Just go away forever." She's running away in tears, going, "Daddy, if you remember Robin's flashback, this is pretty much it.
Speaking of voice actors and flashbacks, the anime with that using an actual little girl to... it adds a whole other level of... I'll talk about more at the end, but yeah.
Steve, you're up.
We're back to the present day at Elbaf, and we hear one of our main characters, who's never been here, obviously, saying, "Huh? A port on top of a tree? Are we on the sea or clouds?" And this is Dory here yelling, "Ready to dock!" And their ship makes it to a port here, and he probably continues on here saying, "This is the Western Village port, and it's sea clouds, just like Sky Island, Skypiea, and a bunch of people here are the welcoming committee. They're saying like, you took so long, we got worried. And what's long for like giants? These guys were
time
fighting
exists
for 100 years.
That's true. Time exists the same for them, so I assume long is still...
well, you got to think about it. Like, if you're gone for like a day, that's that's a drop in a bucket compared to,
Yeah, but a day, it still feels like 24 hours to everyone, even if your life is longer.
I don't know. It's it's like, does it mean as much?
It's interesting to think about, though, when like the last chapter prior to this one, or it was like 2 ago, right, ended with the thing from Louis Arnaud where it said, be careful not to stay too long, that you can get caught up in the whole thing. Week. So it's like, weird to think about time and how it works in Elbaf.
To be fair,
it's Elbaf time, and it's like, by long, I mean like 200
right,
years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah.
Because then at that point, like, you're squatting, you haven't looked for your own place yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, rent is charged by the year instead of the month there.
Wow.
No, speaking of that, last week's chapter feels like 7 years ago, too, so... there you go. It's been a week, as we mentioned. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
And Brooke says, "Why, it simply beggars the mind," which I was just waiting for a skull joke, but it's not there. And he says, "Everything's on a different scale." And Frankie flexing, amazed by the sight. And we have Lilith and Bonnie here with, fists out going, "Wow, yeah." And Robin and Jinbei are there too. And then we have Brogy here saying, and they're here too. And we cut to like a half 2-page spread here, or a 2 2/3 spread here, We see Luffy and Usopp here, arms around each other, arms raised, saying, "Hey guys, look at this! Isn't it wild?" And Bonnie is stars in her eyes, yelling out, and Robin amazed too, and Frankie as well. Frankie's got the stars in his eyes. They're impressed by this floating ship, this floating rowboat in the air. It's a Steven.
Svar?
Just a Svar?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, this is one of those things where, like, I looked through dictionaries, like, trying to find something that might be, like, a derivation of a real word or something, and I really couldn't find anything specific that seemed to connect, at least in a convincing way. So the spelling was mine, but yeah, Oda, the sound is Suvaru, Suvaru. And the kanji is mist ship, so that's why I put that in the next line.
Mist ship that uses.
What if it's a Subaru?
It could. I mean, yeah, it could be like some hidden Japanese joke, like people were talking about with the Colon, the Luffy kid, or whatever. You know, who knows?
Oh, I was just joking.
Yeah, it could be.
That's a good point.
Wonder which
yes, a
Subaru
mist ship
model. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Steve. That wasn't.
No, let's not get in that fandom.
Wait, hold on. Do you remember when they were giving away this Thousand Sunny minivan?
Oh, that was Thousand Serena. No, that was
Mitsubishi.
It was
a Serena.
Nissan or something.
Mitsubishi.
Nissan, yeah.
I thought it was or one of those.
It wasn't a Subaru. That's
which is Japanese, but no.
Mine's powder blue. But as far as a mist ship that uses the buoyancy of island clouds to sail, or what Gerd looks to be doing is rowing. So the motion of that is kind of funny. While Goldberg's just holding the Thousand Sunny above his head, and even like for giants, the Thousand Sunny still looks huge. It's like the I don't know, the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier play set. Like, where the hell are you gonna put that? But it looks funny, and I don't know who this is yelling, but it's like it's all amazing. How is this place so amazing?
Usopp? Maybe
they have everything. I have to assume it's Usopp.
It sounds Usopp-y.
That'd be fine if it was Zoro.
It could also be Lilith, because she goes on, and it kind of
because Lilith's been here before. She's Vegapunk.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, she mentioned that last time.
Well, we'll find out in the anime in like a year and a half.
More, maybe.
But I believe this is Lilith now chiming in as the Svar gets in closer. She says, "The climate in Elbaf is simply perfect. Island clouds, sea clouds, bubbles, rainbows, hovering. It could support all of these things. It's
balloons,
the new
clover.
It's the new Mary Sue Island. Get the hell out of here, Wano Kingdom."
Yeah.
But they also should mention that what's his name, Haruden is with them as well. But so they dock, and he says, "Straw Hat, Usoland, and friends. I'm glad to see you're here in Elbaf." And Nami and Robin have an interaction here. Nami says, "I knew you changed your hair." It's the phrasing kind of threw me off here, but Nami's just being supportive of Big Sis here, and Robin's just like, "Wow, you really been getting into the Elbaf swing of things too, not by choice."
Yeah.
And Luffy says, greets a member of the Straw Hat Fleet. Says, "Good to see you again." And I do love the posture here of Howard and kind of leaning back as like he's like talking to everyone in his palms, and and he says, "I've heard of all your exploits. You're an Emperor of the Sea now. That's the fleet captain we all look up to. I'll give you." He says, "I'll give you all full introductions later, but for now, these are the new giant pirates at your service." And we have
the four of
here.
us.
Yeah, did I say four?
No, he says 4, and then someone says 5.
Oh,
I did
he's
not
leaving out
notice that.
Roto. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot because we got what's his name, Hansen, in the background here too.
Stanson.
Stanson. Sorry.
Laser.
Goldberg's my favorite.
Yeah, we all like Goldberg. And I do like Jinbei perched on Goldberg's shoulder like a freaking.
Oh my God, I did not notice that.
Oh, that's so good.
That is amazing.
And Frankie's on Stanson's as well.
That's really great. I love this. Then, yeah,
and Chopper is on the helmet. I didn't even notice
horn,
that. Yeah, and the horn. You see, this is what I get for reading the chapters in those parking lots. But not
Steve.
this week,
I read mine on an Airbus. So.
Oh really? Jeez.
Steve. Goldberg's got a club, but I think it'd be more fitting if he had a spear.
Fuck Bill Goldberg. Anyway, like, this is Luffy once again saying, like, I told you not to follow me, but Howard, it's just like, who cares? We'll do it anyway. Yeah. So that's a funny response. And yeah, if you weren't aware, the crucifixion of Rodo is currently going on.
Amazing.
He died for our sins?
By the way, with the rainbow in the background, excellent.
I saw that and thought, that's probably not going to make it in the anime. But I don't know. I think there has been some.
I think
Crucifying Shield from Zoe, right, where they had Inuarashi and Nekomamushi.
Yeah, but they used an X, didn't they?
Oh, those were X's. Yeah.
Kid.
What did they do with
Kid did that
T's.
before the time.
Oh, that's right. Kid did. Yeah. Kid did that too.
That might have made it in.
What did they do with what's his face? Yakusho, is that his name? The hedgehog.
Oh, Yasui. Yasui.
Yeah, he was on a cross.
How am I remembering all the Wano names? Yeah, you know what? They did do that. So
you read the manga.
Clear. Yeah. But they didn't. But Greed in Full Metal Alchemist, he had to settle for a pillar.
Also, Alex said this is a traditional crucifixion. He died for his own sins. That's how it's supposed to go.
That is how that's supposed. I don't.
You're too horny. Up you go.
All right.
Horny
I think it's
Christ.
Kirsten.
Okay.
Kirsten, yeah.
I thought you said horny Christ for a second.
Well, same thing. I'll write it down, but I don't think we're using it.
Anyway, Hardy continues, the news about how you beat Big Mom over in Wano. And Luffy's like, huh? Made waves over here, and we never pay attention to the outside. And Luffy goes, Big Mom? And Gerd continues, I was friends with Lean Lean long ago, but she did something unforgivable to Elbaf. And Sanji's in the corner of this tiny panel, just hearts in his eyes. Well, there's a confusion probably from Luffy. Then somebody says, hey, you can catch up with them after a toast, Haruden. First, let's eat and drink. We've got a mountain of food. Sized for us. Gabba-ba-ba. Coming to the pub. And there's a big spread of a bunch of giants bustling around a cool-looking pub with Rodo with his back to the foreground being crucified for his sins. And
It is so funny the way that he's like front and center almost. Just very accentuated.
It is extremely funny.
Luffy continues, Woo! Food! I'm starving! And Usopp says, yeah, I've been so amped that I'm running on empty. And then Robin continues as everyone runs off to the pub. Hey, Luffy? And Luffy goes, And then we cut to southwest of the western village. Robin says, I can go on my own. And Luffy says, not gonna happen. Chopper says, I want to see this. Nami says, yeah, so do I. Jinbei says, I'm just seeing the sights. Zoro says, me too.
Yeah, I don't want to pretend I have emotions. So.
Just need someone to say, I'm just here for the food.
Well, if they were just here for the food, they would not have left the pub.
Yeah, they would not leave.
But they do seem to be seeing some beautiful sights. As Gerd takes them on the Svar. On the Svar.
The Subaru. Yes,
the Subaru. The Subaru.
Outback.
And Gerd says with Chopper perched on her head, Dr. Saul wanted to show you the library, Robin, so we're taking you to the school below it. And Robin says, thank you for guiding us there, Gerd. And Gerd replies, it's my pleasure. It's a long trip. And Luffy says all huffy, "Listen, Robin, the thing about being a captain is you have to pay your respects to everyone who's helped out your crew." And Robin says, "What? Where'd you learn that?" And Luffy says, "It's the honorable thing to do, duh." Then we cut to Dory and Brogy saying, "Oh, that's a good point." Or ostensibly when
No,
they
this
were
is
leaving
Hyruden
town.
and
Hyruden,
Brogy, right?
Yes.
Which is weird.
I just
think Dory and
put-
Brogy left each other's side.
I just
No, they
put
look
the
very
pair,
similar,
yeah.
except that the beard's longer. They have like the same helmet almost. So I had to do a few double takes there.
Anyway, they go ostensibly from when they decided to not immediately go to the banquet. "Oh, that's a good point. We can wait on the toast. Bring Saul back with you." And Hyruden says, "In the meantime, I'll prepare that special mousse for you. Take your time, folks."
Chalk up another moose reference on the counter.
I have a question.
Not enough. Yeah.
Has it been? I don't know if we've talked about this or if this has been revealed in any other panel, but what's the deal with the shield on Goldberg's back? It looks like it's got a face, like it's a homie or something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Oh, weird. I've
don't think
literally
I
never
ever saw
noticed
it
that
before.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a sleeping. Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Wait, where are we looking?
Maybe
Yeah.
that's.
So
I mean, that's kind of
In the
his
big
like
panel.
aesthetic, right? He seems like a happy, sleepy guy. So maybe he likes that on his shield. You know?
maybe.
Looks like a
Yeah.
Yeah, neat little decal.
But I mean,
Yeah, you know.
He looks like a sleepy singular stick of gum.
what did somebody say? A singular stick of gum.
Or a piece of bacon.
That's speak my language.
What, you could read like an entire library of shonen manga for a month, or a singular stick of gum.
That's
Oh,
right.
It's like that. What was it? Zebra
If I were
fruit?
drinking,
Was that
I
the-
would
See,
have.
that's zebra stripe, yeah.
Zebra stripe. Yeah.
R.I.P.
No, fruit stripe gum.
Fruit stripe,
stripe.
sorry.
Do they even make fruit
Right.
stripe
Right.
gum
It's
anymore?
still
That
around.
stuff was
They
awesome.
discontinued it this year.
Oh,
They
Oh,
discontinued
this year?
Yeah.
We
That's
have
a
lost.
bummer.
I had it as definitely. I had it as recently as last year, and it still tasted great and still lasted 2 seconds.
All right, pour one out for Two Kings this episode.
Not the first time you've heard that, Alex.
Wow.
Yep.
Fuck you, Steve.
It's okay. I'll get my turn.
Yeah, you will.
Kirsten, you could continue.
Yeah.
Right? We're on the next page.
So they continue through what looks to be like the Elbaf version of Arches National Park, with Usopp saying, "Thank you. Warriors have to study Utah. Warriors have to study hard too." And Gerd says, "Dr. Saul mostly teaches classes on history in various books." And they get to a epic building that's in a sort of branch of the tree, and below it is a big ocean-looking stretch of water with big waterfalls cascading into it. And Gerd explains, "That's the Warrior Spring, and right by it is the Owl Library." And someone says, "Spring? It looks like a beach!" And Gerd says, "Yes, it's a sandy beach caused by part of the tree becoming fossilized and eroded. It doesn't have tides, but the waterfalls from the spring cause waves to lap on the shore. Waves to lap on the shore." And someone says, "It's an ocean!" And
Luffy, I assume. I was going to say, this is really a mischance to bring back It's a Mystery Ocean or something like
yeah.
that. Yeah. I was also going to say, watching too much kids TV, the Owl Library, the first thing I think of is Daniel Tiger / Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I think it was X the Owl in the original, right? For old people.
This is where the giants go to figure out how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll, center of a Tootsie Pop. That's like literally.
That's what the books are. Dr.
right.
Saul teaches history and commercials from 1983.
How many more chapters will Saul stay alive? 1, 2, 3?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We'll see.
Hope you're not. We don't know how many licks it takes to get
That's
to the
right.
end
We
of
don't.
Saul's
We
life.
don't.
No.
Speaking of excited to see Saul, Luffy starts rushing out of the ship going, "Okay, let's find him! Then we could take Saul back to the pub! And Nami grabs him by the cheek with his whole face kind of stretching back and yells, "Stop! This is Robin's moment!" And Luffy is sort of pushed onto the ground with Frankie and Brooke looking on and doing nothing to stop Nami. And Robin walks out in front saying, "My heart is racing."
What is this feeling?
I just want to say, stopping someone saying this is Robin's moment was me to Brooke during Onigashima a couple years ago. I was like, no, that's okay. You could fight them. That's all right. Stay out of this.
He actually did a good job staying out of that for the most part. I'd say.
But like we got like a one-on-one Robin fight. You know.
Oh God,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. It was like a solar eclipse or something. Doesn't happen.
Actually, it happens less frequently than solar eclipses. Yeah, go ahead.
Robin in her cool boots starts walking, or maybe that's somebody else in cool boots. No, that's somebody else in cool boots starts running and saying, "Oh no, it's Dr. Saul. He's fallen and won't get up." And everyone's like, "What?" And Luffy and Sanji and Chopper and Usopp all start screaming. Luffy saying, "Are you kidding me? We just got here!" And Sanji says, "We're coming for a reunion 22 years in the making, and this happens now?" And Chopper says, "I'm a doctor. I'll handle this. Where's the patient?" And Usopp says, "This is your time to shine, Doctor. We're all counting on you." And the giant points to Saul, who's kind of near the shore of the mystery ocean, face down. And the giant says, "He's over there. He just fell over." And Robin looks and seems surprised and then is silent for a bit and then goes, "Ha ha! Oh, you fool." And someone says, "Don't say that! The poor guy's sick!" And Robin turns around smiling and says, "It'll be fine. Let me go on my own. You all stay here." And they go, "Huh? But are you sure, Robin? Robin!" And she starts laughing as she walks up and says, "I got all nervous for nothing."
Channeling the audience there.
Yeah, no, that panel of all of them yelling about, like, what do you mean this timing is so funny, because it is literally just what everybody was saying when when he first tried to tease this, like, what's happened to Saul? Oh my God. And it was
very good choice of wording. He's falling. He fell and he won't get up.
See,
falling and he won't get up.
I knew what I was
doing.
About
it. Yeah. I gave you credit, Stephen. I think. I was also going to say, I'm saying this because this was my thought process, just in case someone else out there doesn't want to feel alone here. I was wondering how they knew about Robin's past because they hadn't talked about it, but Vegapunk, Shaka did, and then it dawned on me that just now as we were reading. Anyway, we head to the beach as Robin walks out and sees Saul. Just completely, I guess this is how many licks it takes to get to the death here. We found out. We didn't have to go to the Owl Library. And suddenly, a peek. Robin, unfazed, as he growls. Saul, terrifying, but actually not very terrifying, as he starts to laugh. Darish, I'm trying to, Darish, she. I can't, I'm not, yeah. And he's like, "How's that? Did I shock you? Huh? And he was the one who was shocked the whole time because Robin grows up quicker than giants would grow up. And I love these panels. I think it's especially interesting. Not only did she cut her bangs, she knew to wear the same dress as she did as a kid, just in case. By the way, no other, I mean, like, who is he going to confuse her with?
I wasn't sure when I was going to talk about this. I do kind of find it a little funny. Like the hairstyle, I'm like, oh, that's great. But then, like, I'm going to wear like the same little dress. I'm like, I'd be like,
it's the exact same one. She
just saved it all those years later. There was something I remember
like,
people.
If like the
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that I remember like when we were first talking about the fact that Saul was gonna be alive again and she changed her hair, and people were speculating like how that reunion was gonna go. There were actually like a large amount of people that thought that because Bonnie is with them that she might like age her down and potentially be like in the same outfit, so she looked exactly like she did way back when. And I'm kind of glad that they didn't do that. Yeah,
that is such like an anime fan like why?
Yeah, it is.
Right, I totally agree.
reason.
There's no reason to do it. Right, but then she ends
say
up
that
wearing
as
this,
an anime
but
fan.
she ends up wearing the same dress anyway, which I think is kind of interesting.
It'd be like
I
if
think
you dress up one of the
unnecessary.
boys in their like old little sailor uniforms, give them a big
There you
lolly.
go.
He's got his Oshkosh Bagosh, and yeah.
Oh, now I recognize you. Oh, I haven't seen you since you were this big.
I want to
When you
add.
were Oshkosh.
I want to add. No character looks more like their childhood self. I mean, maybe Luffy is an exception here, but like Robin really
Yeah,
looks
she does.
like.
I would say for the
generally-
most part, the Straw Hats, look like
Brooke-
it is as kids.
Brooke wasn't as
Brooke.
dead.
Except Brooke
Yeah, I guess you're right.
and Frankie.
But you know,
but
the
people
dress
in real
isn't-
life. Yeah.
The,
How do you know if they dress differently? Yeah.
It's me. It's me, the little reindeer, Tony Chopper. Oh, you got to be a little more specific.
It's
I'm
like
the
when
one
I see
who could talk. Chopper.
It's like when I see Steve after a while and he's not wearing a graphic tee. I'm like, who is that? Who's that 6'4"?
And then I pull my hood down and you see the shiny head and you're like, oh, Steve.
No, I still don't. Oh, he's wearing a wrestling T-shirt. Okay, now I get it. Yeah. Anyway,
Try
I
harder
love.
than that, buddy. It's got to be meaner than that.
Yeah, I do. I'll think about it. Anyway, we see. I love this panel of Robin. This is like I was kind of iffy about the one where you see her with her bangs, which is still a very cute moment and everything. But this looks much more like pre-time skip Robin. Just I don't know. It's well drawn.
Must be your old bangs.
I'll say though, like comparing, this probably took a little of the emotion out of me, but like, yeah, I get the joke, Steve, and Alex, that the drawings like I love the drawings specifically of him on the beach in 392. It definitely you feel the aged for it. By the way, Steve and Alex have been laughing this entire time on mute. I just want everyone to know that is distracting me. And on the bottom of the page there, we see Saul saying, "Oh, Robin, I recognize you from your dress." Laughing and saying, "You're not a kid anymore. Sorry, I wasn't sure how I should greet you." And Robin pointing out, "Oh, you still have that Darashishi laugh? How ridiculous. I never use that as a coping mechanism." Steven.
Yeah, you didn't even mention that this is another case of deja vu all over again.
I talked about it but forgot to mention it. You're right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. Saul has kidnapped Tama again, and he's
Not Toko?
No, not Toko. So yeah, here now we see he is sitting on the beach, and although it does not go commented on, he has a big peg leg. A little shocker there.
That's a big tree.
Yeah, they go. Yeah, they're in the
on
biggest
a
tree.
Giant tree.
They got all the lumber they need. And this is Saul, former Navy HQ Vice Admiral, who saved Robin's life. And he's got her up in his hand, standing on his palm now, and he's like, "Did it? She. Yep, still don't know how to laugh. Now let me get a good peek at you. Why, look how lovely you are now. You remind me of Olvia. You're just like her." As he stares at her. And I do want to point out that if this was like proportionally correct, he's staring at her like the equivalent of like a half inch away from the bridge of his nose. So I would like to see like put something right there in front of your nose like that,
farsighted.
and
Yeah.
see how close, how well you can see the details. That's obviously this is for. It's comics.
We're all doing it.
I was going to say, you guys can't see me. I literally picked up an amiibo and I tried it for myself.
And
He's like-
everyone listening also is holding something, and
That's
they
right.
should hold something close to
holding-
their face.
Holding her so close, like, hold on, I lost you. And he pulls back, like, oh, there you are.
Yeah. The mention of Olvia, she's like, huh? like my mother? And she has this really beautiful blush. She's, obviously Saul would know. She met her mother, as we see in this flashback, but of course that was a long time ago. And as she remembers Olvia saying, "We cannot give up on the future of the world. You will understand someday." As Saul says, "You got her gentle eyes, Robin." And it is funny to think that anyone would not think they looked alike, since that's like the thing that everybody joked about was that Olvia is just Robin with white hair instead of black hair in the
no bangs.
In the flashback.
No bangs.
Yeah, she just needed a haircut. She was out on a expedition.
She was also in prison for a period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he continues, "Anyway, did you hear Vegapunk's message?" And she says, "I was there on the island, but I couldn't really make it out. I had to learn about it from the paper." And Saul continues, "Well, when he said," and then we just get a brief voiceover here, "History is told by the winners."
See, if the anime were still going at its old pace, we'd have the entire speech again. So that would give us a few episodes, I think.
Mm-hmm. "Those words came from O'Hara. If they were left to be buried in history, they would have vanished without being heard." And there's a nice little sort of background image of Professor Clover and Olvia and all the other archaeologists and scholars. "The scholars of O'Hara sent out their voices. And Vegapunk's a scientist. He doesn't speak on good and evil, but he gave his life to pass those voices on. It's a huge step forward made possible by O'Hara's and Vegapunk's sacrifices. I'm sure it means big change for the future." And Robin says, "Yes, your sacrifice too," as she reaches up and touches one of the big burn marks that is on his face. "Does it hurt?" And we see a little cut in again of Saul after he was attacked by Aokiji and kind of left for dead. He says, "Dead, but you can't believe I made it, huh? The next thing I knew, I was drowning in the sea. I guess the flames of the island melted the ice and dropped me in. I didn't find out you were still alive until a bit later. And the things they were saying about you." He's righteously angry, furious for on Robin's behalf. "Oh, it made me so mad." Since, of course, he only found out all those horrible things that we heard courtesy of Spandine at the start of the chapter.
That's right. All the lies that people were telling her about Robin. Which will bring us to the last page where Robin thinks back and says, "Well, I don't want to talk about the bad things," which I think is such a beautiful little moment here where she goes, "Instead, Saul, I want to hear the nice things about how I survived." And she has her arms spread all the way out as Saul looks down. You get the little exclamation point bubble above his head as he bursts out into tears, laughing, "Dare, she. No kidding. A tiny child like you on the run from the entire world?" And as he slams Robin to his chest with the little oof, because he's, again, you're a giant, a little too hard, she's a living being.
Squish.
Not a doll, right? Exactly. Thankfully, Saul was not Lenny, so Robin's still alive. We're good. And you have this really beautiful moment of Saul saying, "Bless you for being alive, Robin. 22 whole years. Bless you for surviving, and bless you for coming to see me." And you can see the other Straw Hats watching on as he gives her a big hug, and you get this just really heartbreaking shots of Robin smiling in Saul's arms and then thinking back to her absolute worst moments, thinking after all the things that people were saying about her, all the lies people were spewing, where she just says to herself, "Why do I have to live anyway? Mother, Professor Saul, I just want to die. I just want to die." And you could see the tears beginning to well up in her face as she's holding on to Saul, sniffing, and finally admitting and breaking down, probably the way many of us were as we were reading the chapter, saying, "I missed you so much, Saul." And you get the little drip sound effects of the snot and the tears as Saul goes, "There, she, I missed you too." And they both exclaim their love as you see them clutching onto each other, hugging each other, as the rest of the Straw Hats completely break into tears, sobbing in the foreground. You got Frankie, Brooke looking the other way, Sanji slamming his hand in his face, similar to what happened back when he figured out that Pudding was double-crossing him. You got Nami down there slapping her little hands to her face as well. Chopper making one of the most crazy faces of all of them. I love Chopper's facial animation. I love it. And Usopp's there as well. But then you get the one beautiful shot of Luffy looking on as a proud captain, finally getting to witness this reunion and ending the chapter with a smile. And that's it.
And they cry and everyone cry. No tears were shed, or whatever that Odin line is.
That's right. And no tears were shed.
And no tears were shed. Jinbei and Zoro
they're sightseeing. Yeah.
They're all
we actually have no idea.
I feel like Jinbei's probably just watching to make sure Zoro doesn't wander off and get lost.
You know
I
what?
guess when you're in the new monster trio, it's just like, nah, you don't cry.
The new monster
No
trio.
Jinbei.
Do not let
Trio.
YouTube hear you say that, Steve.
I'm the Sanji fan.
No, I know. Me too. I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You
Yeah, I'll
gotta-
keep that to myself.
Jinbei has one of those leashes that you have for toddlers going around with Zoro, making
That's right.
sure he doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry,
I like
Stephen.
that this panel is it's sort of like a new entry on the list of like which Straw Hats do what, like how often they bathe or whatever. It's the who breaks down into tears at an emotional moment and who doesn't.
Sure.
Split between the crew. I think that was a
Brooke-
fun discrepancy.
I feel like we'll always skip over Brooke, but that's a fantastic phase. Where did the snot come from?
His soul.
So that's the chapter. Yeah, I know. I was actually looking. There's a lot of deja vu even in this. I was wondering if the "I just want to die" line is in the original. It is not in the flashback, but later.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Steve.
but it's definitely like a direct mirroring of "I Want to Live."
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, which is like what made that extra impactful.
Oh, yeah.
Not that it even. Yeah, it's the Okay, I'm gonna get emotional. So let's go around. Thoughts on the chapter. Who's least emotional here? Kirsten, you're definitely not. You don't.
Yeah.
You said you didn't.
I'm not emotional. I wasn't just actively holding back tears as we were rereading this. I mean, woof. What a chapter. Like, I wrote about this in my review too, but it's like the stuff at the beginning of the chapter, like in that first iteration we get right after O'Hara, people are saying like to Robin that, it's a sin that you're alive. But the way that people tell her, stupid brat deserves to be dead in a ditch somewhere. Like, I wish she'd just die. Like, that language feels so different. And it was so, like, dark and shocking. And also, like, coming with because I don't think we knew beforehand that people in the Navy were pinning the destruction of the civilian ship on Robin either. So this idea that she was not just like ostracized for being, a quote unquote demon, but that people thought she was a killer. It's so heavy, and it's, to have this moment where because of all of that, we see like a child Robin clearly having suicidal ideation. It hit me like a ton of bricks this week, and the way that ties back into the end, and especially because like right before that final page, it does go back to Robin as a kid saying, I want to die, like right after all these moments of saying, bless you for surviving, it's like, God damn it, I'm tearing up just talking about it. It's powerful stuff. One Piece is good. One Piece is a good thing, and I like it. The end.
Roger.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I'm feeling a lot of the same emotions you're feeling. You're not alone. I just feel like in general, I expected this to be later in the arc, right? So I think this was like a huge, pleasant surprise to me. And I feel like everyone's going to just talk about how beautiful this was done. And again, the parallels that you just mentioned with the I want to live versus like the I want to die. But it just goes to show like how good Elbaf has been so far. I feel like in terms of not just pacing of the characters, but also setting up sort of like not necessarily false hope, right? But like giving us this really beautiful moment at the beginning when we're like, we've already been through a lot, right? We went through this Lego castle. We arrived on the shores. You have that message from Vidi that was sent in the newspaper. You had obviously the Alabasta group that was separated from this group. And now we're finally getting this moment of reunion with Saul and with Robin. And I am wondering, like, how long is this going to last? You know what I mean? Like, I love this. I want this for them forever. Like, I don't want anything bad to happen from this point moving forward. But I know because of how the series is and because of, like, the arc in general, that my assumption is something bad could still happen. You know what I mean? And
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah. No, just to piggyback on that before I forget this point. I did creative writing in school, and they tell you, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before. Yeah. If a story starts out very depressing and everyone is in bad, dire straits, it usually ends with a good ending. Exactly. For them. Or like at least things start moving in a more positive direction. And vice versa, where things are starting really good. Exactly. Usually things get really, really bad. So yeah, this is as Tootsie Roll Pops aside, right? It does fill me with some dread that it's happening so early.
Yeah, my assumption is like we will probably get some cool stuff at the library, right? They set up the Owl Library at the Springs, and I do think we will have that moment of Saul, showing the books that were saved from O'Hara to Robin. But knowing that Loki is up to something, right, in the underground plane or whatever it's called, the bottom part of this tree. And knowing that this is war land, right? Like setting up Elbaf as the land of nonstop fighting. And knowing you were in the final saga, right? That we're about to enter a final war. That the way in which the story is setting us up and giving us these sort of cathartic moments is, again, it's worrying me about what is to come in the very near future. So while I'm like absolutely adoring this and having this moment between the two of them, it is genuinely concerning to me as a reader for like, okay, where's the dark turn going to come in? With that being said, I, again, thought that entire segment with Saul and Robin was beautiful. And I also thought the way that certain things were set up in this, potentially like giving us highlights of what's to come and like filling us in on other backstory things is kind of cool. Like you get that line from Gerd in like, I think it's like page 8 or page 9, where she mentions, I was friends with Linlin a long time ago and she did something unforgivable to Elbaf. Like we, as the reader, remember that from the Big Mom flashback of her killing Yorl and Jarl or whatever. But also we don't really still fully know everything regarding Mother Carmel and the children. And so I think there's still something to be told there, especially considering there is, the stuff with Loki and the marriage to Lola and how badly Big Mom wanted that. I wonder how it's all going to come into play. But yeah, for the most part, obviously the Robin Saul stuff was amazing. But I think don't overlook the other great stuff in the chapter. I think there are really good gags with sizing. Like you mentioned the thing with the ship where they're on this far and he's holding up the Thousand Sunny and it just looks like an oversized Lego set. Or the stuff with, the crucifixion of Rodo. It just, there's a lot of really, or even like the sleeping shield on the back of Goldberg. Again, there's like a lot of funny little things to pick out here. And the one other thing I will say that I think is like a beautiful parallel and something that's like done very subtly in this chapter is, we bookend with Child Robin and all of her experiences. And we just came from Egghead with Bonnie's past, right? And Bonnie's experiences and what her and Kuma went through. And I thought it was kind of beautiful and touching that all of the scenes that you see with Bonnie in this, right? She's held in the arms of Robin. Like, I know what you've been through. I want to protect you. I don't want you to feel sort of the same things that I'm feeling. Like, I'm here for you. And I thought that was really, really, really nice as well. Overall, great chapter. No notes. 10 out of 10.
I don't know if Oda's taking notes or accepting notes.
He clearly has. Elbef's
Steve...
been better than Wano so far, so I feel like he's taking notes.
Steven.
Yeah. Fantastic chapter, obviously. Tremendously emotional, and seeing the resonance of how he kind of went back to, I don't want to say went back to the well, but we kind of go back and relive both bits of the actual flashback that we saw before, but also a lot of new scenes that kind of show what it was like in the aftermath, and seeing Robin at her worst in order to show, or at her lowest, I should say, in order to show how meaningful this is for her. That's all very moving, but I think anybody else can talk about that too. So I thought maybe instead I would talk a little bit about kind of like the last page here of how I did things, because I'm assuming I didn't really look too closely today, but so there was a little bit of a delicate dance that I did with the translation of her talking with Saul here on these last two pages, where the I guess you would say the direct translation, or the literal translation from Japanese, that is the title of the chapter, would have been like compliment me or praise me. And it's because in the Japanese, she says, instead of talking about the bad things, please praise me for surviving. And I thought, when I saw that, I was immediately like, oh, this is going to be tricky, because what she says is homete kudasai. Homeru is a verb in Japanese for to compliment someone or to praise someone, to say good things about them. And this is one of the few cases, I think we found one of those blue moon things where the Japanese word, or like the usage in Japanese, is much more blunt and straightforward than the way that we say these things in English. It's usually the other way around. But like to say, please compliment me or please praise me, is, I think that sounds very unnatural in English. Like, we don't tend to express like a desire to be complimented in that way. We have we literally have a saying, fishing for compliments, and it's because you have to like engineer a specific situation to get you the compliment that you want. You never just say like, hey, say nice things about me. Like, that would be a very forward thing to do. But in Japanese, it is not necessarily that strange. Like, I have seen this construction used in Japanese in manga before, several times, and so it's something that is not necessarily considered like completely outrageous or out of the ordinary in Japanese. It's kind of this is the thing too, is like I started looking like on a thesaurus and stuff, like, okay, is there just the right verb, like is there the right synonym here, because compliment sounds like a fairly casual word, like compliment me, and like that's what you would say about like, hey, Robin, your haircut looks nice. That's a compliment. Praise sounds very heavy. That sounds like at least in America, I think, maybe this is me, but that often has like religious connotations, praise, like Christian, praise the Lord and stuff like that. It doesn't have to, but there's obviously going to be that insinuation depending on the context. And so I was like, okay, is there something that's maybe like in between these things? And the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I just don't think that we say, give me a compliment or say something nice, about me. Like we have to put it in other words, or we don't use a direct command. And so that was how I ended up settling on nice things as a contrast to bad things, because that is what she says in Japanese. She says, I don't want to talk about dark topics or like depressing topics, instead praise me for surviving. And so I just kind of, flipped it into the second half of that first statement. And I thought it's definitely slightly different. There's probably some like implications that may have existed in the Japanese that aren't as obvious in the English, but I think it also kind of creates its own implications in English that don't exist as readily in Japanese, that are also very beautiful and kind of touching. And so I was kind of happy with that, the way that I managed to work that. That was because it is also the title of the chapter as well. I was like, I don't know if I like, praise me as a chapter title devoid of context. Like when you see it in context, it makes more sense. But I think outside of context, it does not sound like what it actually ends up being. And I don't think that is really intended in the Japanese from Oda's part. So that was another aspect to, why I ended up finding this kind of alternate way to say it. Anyways, that was a very in-depth bit on, just a quick little line of dialogue, but
I'm glad
it's good to know. Yeah.
It's I mean, it's a big moment emotionally, obviously. So I definitely wanted to try to capture the nuance of how it is delivered in Japanese in a way that I didn't think a direct translation actually did as successfully. But that was a big part of my thought process working through this chapter, was like, okay, how do I do this moment in a way that feels like it lives up to it? So it was a treat to get to do this stuff, since I didn't have any part of the Ohara scene or Water 7 in the original Viz translation. So it's always cool when I get to see this stuff.
And the juxtapositions, it works. The bad things, nice things, the die and live. It's
there's a lot of that.
Yeah. So I'm praising you, even if you didn't ask. Yeah.
I wasn't fishing, but thank you.
Yeah. Anything else, Steven, about the chapter? No. Okay. Simba,
take a big gulp of water.
I was gonna say I know exactly what you just did. Okay, Steve.
Feels like I haven't talked about a chapter in a while. Glad to be back for this one. It's hard for me to remember every single chapter throughout the year, but maybe I could at least put it out there. I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites for sure. It was a feel good one. It was nice. It was a nice thing. We deserve a nice thing every now and then. I really enjoy this. I almost like the Robin flashback DX that we got. Just revisiting that, hitting all those key moments without having to, because like Oda typically now has been doing like the little blurb. It's like, remember Alabasta? This is what happened. Here's these cute little
right.
SD drawings of the characters. I liked that he took the time to really kind of to set the tone and be like, remember where we came from. And I think it really sold the ending for this so much more. I'm so glad that he did that. If I could talk about the non-Robin stuff real quick, it was just fun. I think the Roto like gag with him being chained up like that is really funny. He's just in the background, in the foreground, everything. Everyone's just going about things normally except for him. I really dug that a lot. This is some great Straw Hats. Just bouncing off of each other. The chemistry there is so well executed in this chapter. I'm looking forward to seeing some more of Elbaf. Hopefully some wide shots here. I think the spring here, the Owl Library is really nice, and I think one of the things I'm really enjoying, at least about the architecture of Elbaf, is just how chunky it is. I think I forget if I was in the episode with Alex, but like Alex, we were just talking about like we want more Haas giants, or maybe that was just Alex. Maybe I was listening to that episode, but I agree with that sentiment. I can't remember. I think I was on there, yeah. And at least like it's coming across in the architecture here. So like I really like that just really thick wood that they're using here. It feels very Viking, at least. At least for the Robin and Saul interaction, I'll do a little more of my scale complaining here. I think the reveal, like the Oda box panel with Saul, it's great because we get the full body, we get the reveal of the peg leg, but just it still comes off as a little flat to me. And I know the scale is there, like Robin is literally in Saul's hand, but I just went back and looked at the chapter he's first introduced. That's 392, and when you get that big panel of him just like falling back and laying on the ground and seeing how big he is, I think just like that panel has more room to breathe in the scale, and I think a lot of like the panel choices in that, some really great stuff there that really conveys the scale there that I just still think Oda's not nailing 100% on here. But
I will say, Steve, that like I think maybe that Oda box panel could have been improved if it were the whole page. But at the same time, I think that he would have had to fast track the really patient 2 pages that precedes that.
Yeah, that's true. I'll take that over of devoting more page to just his pre-time skip design. But it's my one little nitpick. Otherwise, I think this chapter did a much better job of it. But the emotional, climax of this chapter was phenomenal. I teared up reading this, and that is an achievement because I think without the aid of voice acting and BGM for this just go purely off of my own interpretation, my own head as I read this, he nailed it. It's one of those payoffs for reading the series for so long. I don't know if it'd be the same for someone that just read Water 7 for the first time, a few months ago or last year, but to be with the story for so long and for this and for something I didn't know I wanted originally or that I knew was possible, and it really succeeded in not feeling cheap. This felt amazing, and Robin's really kind of like becoming the star of this arc for me because at least in the beginning she's getting so much focus, and I don't want Loki to ruin it. I'm curious what Loki, because Loki, he murdered the king, but I wonder if he was also being like a creep to like Lola, like stalking her on all her socials too. He got chained up for crimes of being a stalker. But yeah, this is an incredible chapter. And I hope the last 2, I think it's kind of like I said something. I was like, man, if you don't feel anything when you see this, I don't know, man. Because for me, it's just hitting. But also, I'm a fan of 22 years. So,
Alex.
Yeah, I guess to segue into my thoughts, piggybacking off of that, I read Robin's Flashback weekly. I was there on the ground when that was coming out, and not every Straw Hat gets to have the luxury of being reunited with their person, and I think that's part of why this is so resonant to me. And also because, if you listen to my thoughts on Saul a few episodes ago, I was like, oh, they're going to like kill him. And Robin's going to like get to say goodbye to him again. And it's going to be super sad and fucked up. And I'm really glad that we actually got something really, really, truly good out of this reunion. I think that like when you look at the rest of the chapters that came out this past year, no matter how monumental they were, even the Kuma flashback stuff, which is really, really something else, it's very tragic. And this is sort of taking like a tragedy and sort of healing the wounds associated with that tragedy a little bit. So yeah, I cried at the end of this chapter. I think, Zach, earlier you posted in the Discord side-by-side comparison of Saul growling at Robin. You can go ahead and talk about that when you're going through it, but I agree in your sentiment that like, yeah, it's the art has definitely changed a lot. But then like when I'm looking back at the old panel, there's a lot of hatching, which Oda doesn't really do too much anymore, like really non-messy hatching. And now he uses the deeper blacks to indicate shadow. So I think it just goes to show you how much his art style has just straight up changed over the last like 20 years, about 20 years or so. Of course, the preceding chapter, the preceding flashback, of course, wasn't actually 22 years ago. It was more along the lines of like, what, 16?
I think it was like 19 to the day almost,
17,
wasn't it?
19?
Yeah.
19?
Yeah.
Is that so?
That's
wow.
pretty crazy.
My beard
Right.
goes long and white as we speak. Yeah, so there you go, almost 20 years. That's crazy. I really do love how patient their reunion is. Like when you look at those, I'm looking at pages 12 and 13, and you're so used to seeing so much in every One Piece panel these days in the background, because Oda's and his assistants are very meticulous with all the little details in the background. But this is just like really nice open space. It's like the beach. There's not much dialogue. They're very patient pages, and I think it really is effective in welling up that emotion inside of you and making this particular moment hit the way it does. And it's nice to see that sort of thing in One Piece again. I think that like it's not something we get very often. And when we do get something patient, it's usually for a gag. So it's nice to have it amount to this. Looking at the big wide shot of the pub with the giants, I'm very pleased that I'm looking around and most of these giants are pretty stout. The barrel-shaped giants, as I wanted chapters ago, which is really great. I do think that Oda's scale is effective here, in that specifically the page before this, where we're introduced, quote unquote, to the 4 new giant pirates. And you see, like, yeah, well, you mentioned earlier Jinbei on Goldberg's shoulder, and Frankie on Stanson's shoulder, and there's the scale that we sort of want to see. It sort of reminds me of the color spread during Little Garden, right, where it's Dorian Broggie and blink and you'll miss them straw hats like all over them. I don't have the exact chapter number. In
Steve
my head
knows
right now,
those off the top of his head usually.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Let's see. And I do love that. I love the fleshing out of Elbaf. I really love that we're getting to see this town. The Svar really got me. as well. Like last week, I was like, oh man, they're selling on a rainbow. And now I'm like, oh, that's so cool. They actually have the island clouds attached to the oars. That's such a unique way of making that sort of thing happen. I really love the mechanics of that so much. It is almost like Elbaf is some sort of fantasy land. Truly, truly good stuff. One other thing that I'll say is earlier we were talking about Goldberg's shield. I went back and here I posted this just now in our Zoom chat, but it's Goldberg from the cover story, and he has the shield, and it's got eyes and a little like
tongue.
Dragon Quest.
Oh yeah,
style.
it's a little Dragon Quest monster.
Yeah, it looks like a Dragon Quest monster. Yeah, exactly, like a little tongue sticking out. So
I love his design so much. All of this. Sorry,
it's really
fan.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It's super great, and it makes me wonder if that is a homie, if that's like a gift from Lin when she was little before she,
especially because Gerd brought up again in this chapter. She straight up said like, "Oh, Lin was here. I was friends with her a long time ago." And hasn't it also been said? And I think it was even in the Big Mom flashback, right? We saw the young version of Harudin as well. So
yeah, I mean Goldberg.
Yeah, he actually.
I think they mentioned Goldberg. To take one step back there, it's more likely a gift from Mother Carmel, because she was actually there at that time, and she had the devil fruit.
Oh, no.
Sure,
because she got eaten. So she didn't have it later. But yeah.
I just want to point out how funny I think it is, the concept of Lin kind of being the kid on Elbaf, where the Elbaf mothers are like, I don't want you hanging out with that kid anymore.
That's who she was.
Don't bring that kid over anymore.
That kid watches Beavis and Butthead.
It's Lin.
Not a good influence on you. Yeah.
Where did you learn about eating children from? From Lin. I don't want you hanging out with Lin anymore.
I mean, because of the Loki connection, and I think I do think that like either a devil fruit or a homie. I'm pretty sure this is a homie. I think there's a good chance we'll see, at least even in flashback form, Lin return in this.
Oh, for sure.
I'd like to believe that her story isn't completely done, because she has such a interesting and tragic backstory that is directly tied to the country in which we are in currently. So,
is that it, Alex? Or
that's it for me. Yeah.
You all, by the way, not to give the fish for you all fishing, but I do want to praise you all because you all made very interesting points.
I also was going to say I'm glad that like this wasn't entitled compliments, because compliments are a really great way to get somebody to do stuff for you.
That's
even
true.
If what you're saying about them isn't
true. That's true.
You're a good little go-getter, Zach. Now go get me a lemonade.
Okay, wait a second. I won't sing it. Anyway, enough of that home movies reference. This was an outstanding chapter. This is one of those chapters like I wish I sat with more on my first read, because I think just the chaos of my day-to-day life makes I didn't cry at this. I welled up at the end, but my daughter was crying during it because she's 6 months old. So someone in the house.
And then your son laughed. He's such a little
he was playing soccer. Anyway, no, I adored this chapter, and Alex, I'll start with what you said about like the white space and the slow pace of page 12 through 13 in particular. It is like almost panel for panel what we see in chapter 392.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, so I'll show all of you here, but you could compare it, and like. Yes, some of it's skipped because, we don't have this kind of time anymore. But, like, you had Robin looking, concerned, and here, and, like, the same kind of layout even. It's really cool to see Oda do that. And you're right, Oda is a completely different artist today. But I think the homage to his past work. I mean, I only know from podcasting, but I know, and I also know from hearing about artists that going back sometimes is a painful thing to do. But I know Oda does have a lot of confidence in himself as an author and as an artist, as he should. So to see those homages and those connections made is really cool. Roger, you talked about the final arc sort of thing.
Sure.
And the big picture stuff and the dread I have about this arc in particular, but also just the way the narrative, the storytelling Oda has done over the last few years, so since like 22, has been like, okay, we're wrapping this up. I'm going to bring these threads all back together. And I think that plus this happening right at the start of this arc, I know it's been going on for 2 months, but we had several breaks, or 3 months or whatever it's been. But this really makes me feel like, okay, we're tying up some loose ends here very fast. Like if it's still, I know he took his time here, but it did feel, it still felt fast. Yeah. I think maybe just looking at volume 41, and Oda really took his time telling that story of Ohara. And I'm not saying he rushed this, because I think he did do a good job resetting the table here with the horror of what Robin went through as a child. But at the same time, it is definitely faster. We are going we're like, okay, no time to do anything. Let's go see Saul. Let's do this. And how it was done is perfectly fine. I just feel like if this were 20 years ago, this would be several chapters.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I feel like if this was 4 years ago, this would be several chapters. Again, yeah. I've made that argument on my streams where I feel like the whole Lego Castle thing could have easily been 3 months of Wano Country, right? Whereas it's only
that's not a bad thing here.
No, not at all. But I mean that this. Everything we've gotten in this arc so far, right, I feel is very purposeful. It's still allowing for those moments to kind of breathe, to live in that moment where you get the stuff early on with Robin, where he's not just rushing through it. And Steve, you mentioned earlier the thing where he does these little recaps with the little chibi characters, and that has not happened here, which is still kind of amazing. And that we've gotten to this moment.
Except with Haruden.
Except for the Haruden. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it hasn't. And it's all been within 8 chapters. We've been in Elbaf for 8 chapters, and we've had all of this already. It's amazing.
The Yamato cover story
is 20. Exactly.
Where are we?
Exactly.
So he's proving himself. He's proving us right and
wrong at the same time.
Yeah, he's probably just not thinking about that cover story that much. Which is fine.
Yeah, neither am I. So that's fine.
But this was a truly really beautiful chapter. I think, to piggyback off of what I was saying before, though, and what Roger was saying, what Steve mentioned is that, and it's true, I think the anime watching these flashbacks, a lot of the way I think most of us and definitely most of our listeners originally watched these is through the anime and with the music and with kind of the luxury of time and with context in a different way. Robin's flashback in particular is so masterfully done in the anime that I think some of the emotion of this is because of that. And it's also kind of dependent on how you, the reader, are, how you're reading it, where you're reading it. When you're watching a show, you're a captive audience. That is the thing you're doing, unless you're doing something else and watching Ohara for some reason. So yeah, I that to say, if you had a different emotional response, I think that's okay. Because it's just so dependent on where you are. I want to mention the Sfar thing. I freaking love too, Alex. I think you really hit the nail on the head. Joey pointed out that this is almost certainly an homage to Vicky the Viking, as I which I mentioned earlier. It's in the opening theme, something similar to this. I love and am interested in the use of island clouds, which he's been bringing back more and more since Egghead. The fantastical elements of Elbaf are amazing. The assistants need fucking awards for this, because the setting is not only great for all the reasons that Steve mentioned, which I'm not fully able to appreciate as a not artist, but also just the moss and the lived in feeling of Elbaf. I think we talked about last time, like the little bridges under the, under the village, and all the little things are really outstanding. And Steve, I don't know if you had a chance to listen last week. I know you've been busy, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. But I stand by the EL Bath cookie thing. I think when you look back at the O'Hara stuff with the perspective of Saul, it benefits that everything else around him is tiny or regular sized. The problem is here he's living in a world that is built for him. So I think it's a much tougher task, at least as a reader, to, the miniaturization of the Straw Hats is basically what's happening. Everything else in the world seems normal. And I think that's a harder thing to convey, the scale of the giants, when the only thing that isn't at that scale are, the Straw Hats. It's a real challenge. Is he doing it super well? I think it's a really high bar he has set to clear. I don't know how well he has done it thus far, but yeah, I don't think that's a symptom of his evolved art. Yeah, I don't have a ton else to say. You all said it really well, and I feel like I've been talking for a while. I can't wait to get to the pub. I want to see some fun. I don't want to see any drama. I just want the Straw Hats and Robin and Saul to enjoy themselves. Is that so much in the year 2024 to ask for? Just nice things to happen to them.
I guess we can have nice things.
Yeah. See? Saul came full circle.
That's right.
By the way, that color spread that I was referring to is in chapter 117, chapter title Dorian Brogy.
I love that's the one where they're all like sitting on the shoulders and on the that's a great one.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as scale goes, it's funny you mentioned that, because when they're sitting, they're about as tall as the palm trees. So I think part of the problem with the scale is that there's nothing else.
In fact, there's an even more gigantic tree that they're all sitting on. So it's like now they all look tiny even compared to that. I don't have an answer to like how to fix that. I don't know if Oda's doing a great job, but it seems like almost paradoxical. It's the catch-22. You can't really. I don't know how you could address that artistically or even not artistically. But any other thoughts?
When you were talking about how cool this far is, this thought just popped into my head. Very idle observation, which is that like. The mechanism of having, because it's not floating on anything, right? It's just the oars. It's the cloud attached to the oars. And it made me wonder, when they get to this in the anime, like, how careful do you think they're going to be about the animation cycles? Not to make fun of animators, although they probably deserve it. But I'm just thinking back to...
You're going to hurt all the Sakuga fans that are listening.
Like back in Dressrosa, when we all made the observation that Kyros runs like a man with two legs where one is invisible rather than a man with one leg. And it makes me think, like, if they draw those oars like making gigantic circles, that's gonna look real funky, because technically if Gerd were to do that, the ship would be bouncing up and down like crazy. Because it's only attached to the position of the clouds. That's the only way that it's being supported. So I just wanted to throw that odd observation out there.
I think it is certainly going to be a challenge for the animators, but I think the current team of animators are extremely skilled.
They're good.
And the fact that One Piece has a chance here to become seasonal, also means that they could actually put the thought, the effort, the time, the money, all of the things necessary to not have that issue, not the Hanna-Barbera effects or whatever it is there.
They just need to remember horizontal movement, like back and forth, back and forth.
I think
Don't
you could
go
do
in
it
big
if
circles.
the cloud is like substantial enough. Like you could do it in a way, I feel like, where it doesn't look like a bouncy house. We still have a while before we see that, but we'll get back to you, Stephen. Make sure someone listening in the future let Stephen know how that went in the year 2027 or whatever. All right, that'll do it for the manga recap. Let's get into some piece together. This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, theories, but only give you one stick of gum in return. Let's start. Alex.
This piece is our first segment. We start with King Doji, who says, "Hey OPP, the most wonderful chapter of the year for the most wonderful time of the year. Hard to imagine Saul would be doing the life alert for a reunion gag. And as many guessed, he's also got a burn scar. Very interesting. Thank you all for the great podcasting this year."
Roger, I'm assuming you probably went over this in your stream. I haven't listened yet, but
The man with the burn
I feel
scar
like this is
thing?
probably,
I had mentioned very early on, once we found out that Saul was alive, that I thought that he would probably be the same person, and that maybe it would be like a play on the idea of like an ice burn, right? Like a frostbite type thing.
Oh, yeah, I do remember.
Right. But then it was brought up in my chat today after we were talking about it. I'm like, well, there's the man with the burn scar. Someone did bring up that the character like travels on a black ship and is rumored to have created whirlpools. And then that got me thinking again to the flashback with Vegapunk and with Dragon, right? Where they're in like the burned out husk of Ohara and they're leaving the flowers. Dragon's ship is like a black ship. And presumably, if he has some type of storm power, could create whirlpools. And we don't fully know like how Saul got back to Elbaf. And we know that Vegapunk's been here before, and that there's been those conversations with Dragon. So I wonder if it's like almost a crossed wire type thing where this Dragon legend kind of merged with the Saul legend. But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
weird. Just because it makes sense for the story with Kid, right? Because Kid was in Elbaf, and they mentioned they were going to go meet with the man with the burn scar.
No,
and
he just knew that if I recall correctly, I think he was just like, oh, we got to find the kid. The man
guy with the burn scar. They weren't purposely going to Elbaf to. Okay.
No, remember they picked directions, which was closest, which was furthest.
Right.
Yeah, he got his pick. I would also add, Vegapunk, it's confusing because Vegapunk was on Ohara, but Vegapunk didn't meet with Saul until on Elbaf. He went to Elbaf specifically with the intent to research the ancient history of Elbaf because he had known.
Right.
So I think it's confusing, but I believe those are two different occasions.
Those are separate things. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I
don't know.
I
mean, we still don't know who that person is that was walking around with Louis Arnaud's warning, right? Like
No.
Some people are like, oh, that's Scott Burgaban or Shiki or whatever.
I mean, that could also be. I mean, that could be Zabek even, and that could be the man with the burn scar.
Who knows?
I am actually a subscriber that I still think it's Zabek, but I'll say the thing that had, until I realized the thing that you mentioned, the whirlpool thing.
Right.
The one thing is that the Saul does have access to everything that Ohara had. And you'd think that would be helpful here. However, it's also pointed out to me, I think by someone here maybe, or someone in our Discord, that the missing road poneglyph was on Fishman Island. So, O'Hara's books wouldn't even really be that helpful there.
Yeah.
And Zabek, I could see stealing that. And, I don't really know anything about him, but there you go.
None of us do. I think.
Well, he was in that opening, silhouetted. So,
yeah.
Alex.
Usopp D. Great says, "Hey ho, OPP. What Saul did there is what we in the business refer to as a callback. Usually the setups are not years in the making. Most of mine reference something from the beginning of conversation that gives me a virtual drumroll and hi-hat to move into another conversation group. Do you have a favorite callback you can remember for a comedian or TV show or manga?
That is very general.
Oh man,
Isn't like everything I say just a callback?
I mean, yeah, Steve's life.
Technically,
Yeah.
I liked
I
go ahead.
Oh, no, please.
I was just going to say I liked the, if anybody's seen the most recent season, the final season of Curb, the certain character they brought back with the water bottle, I thought was just like perfect. I won't spoil it for people.
Wait, I'm trying to
who have not seen
remember.
it.
You could type it into me or something because I'm trying.
Okay,
to remember
yeah.
who
I'll
it
type it
was.
because I'm like, it is an amazing multi-season long callback that they go
There
back to.
are. I mean,
that I was blown
Curb
away that
also-
they brought this character. Yeah.
If we're talking about Curb, they also
No,
talk.
I know who you're
I mean,
talking about now.
Seinfeld is also so ever present in that show as a callback.
I mean,
mechanism.
speaking of the finale, like
Yeah,
that's
that I really like what they did. I'll say. I
Me
think
too,
Larry David
yeah.
did a very good job
me
with that.
too. Callback wise, I don't know, Arrested Development so well that I dig deep into because that show is also just like ridden with callbacks. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite comedy uses callbacks as like comedians. I'm not going to start listing comedians I like, but they do that. I think unless you're like a Mitch Hedberg and just are able to say random things and be very funny that way. For the most part, the callback is a very important part of storytelling.
You know what? I actually thought of a good callback. This is to one of the first episodes I was ever on of the One Piece podcast, which was Butt Wipers. If you guys remember Butt Wiper.
Vaguely.
that sounds familiar to me.
It was like that.
Wiper.
So Wiper from Skypiea, and I remember for the thumbnail we photoshopped a toilet paper with Wiper sitting on the toilet, and it said Butt Wipers on it.
Steven, did you Photoshop that? Usually you're our Photoshop.
I don't remember.
I realized I'm
No,
like,
not
I like
even.
these guys' sense of humor. This is cool. I'll stay their friend.
You know what's
I will
crazy?
say that-
Yeah, go ahead.
Whenever we can, I try to drop in Goop Troop.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great one.
That's yeah.
That was my favorite part
That's
about
one for the real
Dressrosa.
heads out there.
Yeah, speaking of callbacks and this the podcast, someone was mentioning I think about crying during our recap. I'm like, we have done a lot of very sad chapters, and I'm sure we're going to get feedback in both directions for this episode. But it's always this weird balance about talking about things seriously and also trying to find humor in it. I mean, it is One Piece. That's kind of what One Piece is that combination. Like I was thinking about like doing the chapter where Ace died, doing the law flashback, which was just gutting. I remember, like we've done some shit at this point. I don't know where this ranks amongst that, but it's always it's tough. Yeah.
I guess I'm sorry I didn't openly weep. I'll openly weep next time.
No,
I'm
I
on
don't
the
think-
podcast for
I don't think I've definitely welled up during recordings, but I don't think I've ever openly weeped. There's always next time,
Yeah, I'll work on my
When the series
crying
ends.
on demand. Yeah.
Very likely. It'll just be us sobbing into microphones, which is slightly better than eating a hot dog on a microphone.
There you go.
Alex.
Article 54 patent infringement says, can you believe it? A flying ship. How many chapters before NL sends the Giants a cease and desist?
Zing.
Patent
Zing.
infringement only lasts for 15 years, I think, for just a limited period of time.
Oh.
So,
He's fucked.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know when
Sailor Karna,
this happened. Yeah.
Sailor Karna's Universal says, hey, OPP, what a wonderful chapter. This was so heartwarming, and I'm glad I wasn't spoiled. Now let me go wipe my tears. Also, has Roto been kicked out of the new Giant Pirates crew?
He should be.
Seems like it, huh?
Yeah.
He's getting sent to rehab.
For the crime of being too horny on Maine.
There you go. Yeah.
They sent him to the David Duchovny rehab. For sex addiction.
Straw Hat Pirate 9 says, sending this while in Yucatan with family. One Piece is always read, even on vacation, and man, what an amazing chapter to read. I had to excuse myself from my dad and sister, run to the bathroom at the Tren Maya station to blow my nose and wipe my tears. I am so happy for Robin. Also, as a Luffy fan, I must say how freaking proud I felt when he put off the feast, food literally right there, to go with Robin to give his thanks to Salt. Beautiful perfection. Luffy is best boy, always and forever.
I'm trying to think when Luffy last ate. Did he eat he was eating a thing of beef, right? I feel like at some point.
He ate the rabbit.
Gotta be some meat. Yeah.
On the giant ship, right?
Oh, he ate the giant rabbit thing, yeah. But he didn't eat the cat. He didn't eat the cat.
Mm-hmm. No, he didn't eat the cat.
No.
Luffy, not a hero because he doesn't want to share his meat, but he will put the meat down for a friend. So.
Yeah, but that's for a friend. I don't think he would do that for just anyone.
That's it. He's a friend. He's not a hero.
Yeah.
Fish are friends, not food. Reverse Peg Leg says, "Did a she OPP? Now that I've properly cried tears of joy over this chapter, I have to wonder what's next for Saul and Robin. Is she going to replace his peg leg with 1,000 of her own legs? Will she start wearing cowboy hats again? Or maybe she will start laughing like him again." I'm definitely pro cowboy hat.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I'd love that look to come back.
Do you think the cowboy hat was an homage to Saul? I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, I
very well
we
could have
talked
been,
about that a few weeks ago. You know what's funny? Saul's also wearing the same outfit. So they had the same thing in mind here. Let's wear the same thing.
Well, I mean, he literally washed up on the shore to remind her of the way she found him the first time.
It's like, oh, yeah.
I like to think...
Yes.
Steve, you got muted or something.
Oh, I thought I was muted before. I like the idea that he did it the hard way and just went out to sea, and let the current take him in instead of just laying there.
He got his feet wet. He needs to invest more in his clothing, I feel like, and especially on Elbaf where they have extravagant looking clothing.
Yeah,
Alex,
get new stuff.
Yeah,
It's hey, it's hard buying clothes when you're
Steve knows.
What do you think? You're gonna walk into Penny's, and they're gonna have the shirt that's gonna fit you?
You mean
I don't think
JC
so.
Pennies?
Yeah, I said Penny's for short. You knew what I was talking about.
Shop for the gangly and obese gentleman, whatever it was called. From The Simpsons.
I'll take the moo.
Well, enough of JC Pennies, because Saul D. Goodcram says, "Ahoy OPP, banger chapter as always. Read this on the toilet and was weeping, and had to text my partner warning her that I'd been crying over One Piece, so that way she wouldn't be concerned when I came to the living room in tears." Lamau.
What happened in the bathroom?
I love how many people are telling us where they were while reading this chapter.
No,
it's
that's
a beautiful
good.
thing.
Yeah, it's including us.
It's pretty great.
Exactly. That's a sign of a good one.
Yeah,
I was on a plane. Yeah,
that'll hurt.
They continue. As a Robin fan, this chapter got to me in every way it could and should have, and I'm so happy to see the long-term emotional payoff land so beautifully. Also, shout-outs to Luffy's small moment of wanting to meet and thank Saul for everything he's done for Robin. My question this week is, who steamed up my glasses so bad I could barely see this chapter? Unbelievable. Have a great week, Heart.
I do want to give a shout-out, I guess, to Kirsten, Ken, and myself a little bit, because we're giving ourselves compliments now, right? That's what we're doing. Do you want to talk about it, Kirsten? What you found?
What are we talking about?
Or you're muted.
What are we talking about?
Oh, so the reason. Sorry, I should have prefaced it more. The reason why Luffy said he had to go thank.
Oh yeah, well, no, Steve, you found this, didn't you?
Yeah, get the hell out of here, Ken. Are you talking about me sharing the Ace and Shanks interaction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I took a step back.
Jokingly said, like, "Oh, I wonder where you got that from."
And Ace got it from Makino, as we all know. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, Makino is always swoops in to save the day. Deus Ex Makino. When things go wrong, writes, "Ahoy OPP. Chopper's one of the best doctors in One Piece, but even he hasn't mastered shock therapy like Robin has. So now that Saul and Robin are reunited, the crew is all back together, more secrets may be revealed, and something is bound to go wrong. My question is, how will Loki get free of his chains?
That's a good
Luffy
question.
did something.
There's a
I'm
giant.
so scared
set
it's
of-
Luffy.
There's a giant set of chain cutters in the shed behind one of the houses, and Luffy's got to go find it.
A chainsaw.
Alex, what's next?
We have this piece from Professional Poyo, who says, "How do you OPP?"
What that photo of Steve, the face he's making? I wish.
It's very funny.
It's very good.
I didn't think Oda was going to top Usopp's reaction to seeing Elbaf in the very next chapter, but here we are. I'm funnily enough right at the end of Robin's flashback in my full series reread, so I was definitely in the right mindset. Anyways, random question. If the Straw Hats were going to start their own podcast, who would you want the main 3 hosts to be? Have a great week. Main 4 hosts, you mean?
Yeah, we have 4.
We have 4.
Sometimes 5, and often
who's the
more.
special guest? Yeah.
Who's the very special guest?
Special guest is Law, definitely.
Yeah,
right.
Law is always
thanks.
Law's
Just
going to be
always
there.
there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And special guest, Poneglyph translator, Nico Robin.
Nico Robin, there you go.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Yeah, I think Robin actually is a good special guest. The host, whoever talks the most and has the most to say.
Usopp is definitely one of them.
Usopp.
Oh,
is
yeah,
definitely
for
one.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, now we need one.
He has the
now
same
we need a guy
birthday
with a
as me,
goatee.
so it works out perfectly.
Well, we always know, like with podcasts, you have like the one normal-looking guy, then you got the guy with the goatee.
There's Jinbei.
Jinbei could be the doughy one.
Honestly, I think that Usopp and Nami would just be like the 2 hosts, like
Yeah.
the 2 main hosts.
That's a good-
I think,
yeah.
I think
Agreed.
that's a good, like,
That's what I would do.
like they,
I
and
feel
they
like-
play off of each other very well too.
Like Chopper has a segment, probably.
There you go.
Yeah,
the most
He
they
reads
can tolerate.
their sponsorship ad reads, exactly.
Absolutely.
I would buy
He goes,
anything.
Chopper approved. Here's my here's your 20% off hymns. Use coupon code Nami Usopp or whatever. You know,
I knew it was going to be. I knew it was going to be that.
No, it wouldn't be him. It would be Blue Nose Chew.
Blue Nose Shoe. There you go. Oh my God, that's so
From the
good.
bar?
Oh man, so
You're
good.
back, Steve.
Now, and
was a good
that
one.
is what you call a callback. There you go.
Now
Yeah.
that is
That's
a
a
callback.
callback.
That's a
real
callback.
fucking
Yeah, that's
callback.
That's a
how you do
callback.
it. That's how you do it. Alex,
Safe from charms. What's
I wonder,
Okay,
what kind of, I wonder what kind of ad reads they give Chopper for Blue Nose Chew that does not give away the fact that he doesn't know what sex is.
give that to Luffy too. I think that would work equally well. Just give all the people who are oblivious of it those ad reads.
Big Mom could keep this candy. I don't know.
Wisdom Pythagoras says, "Hey OPP, what a chapter this week. Ohara was 22 years ago in the story and almost 20 years ago in real life. Can you believe it? No, I cannot. My question this week is, what are your thoughts on Big Mom's status? I feel like I see a lot of people in the community wanting her to be dead, but with how much Oda has played coy with confirming one or another, I can't believe, but think that she is still out there. Thank you. Thanks, OPP. Yeah, she's alive still.
If
And
one
Kaio,
person-
they're both alive.
If one person could have a Pell moment, I would hope it would be Big Mom. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Forgot
both
your big
alive.
hat.
Kirsten, what were you gonna?
I mean, yeah, I wonder about this mostly because of like Zeus still existing. But then if Goldberg's shield was made by Mother Carmel and is still alive, then it means that the person who made the homie doesn't need to be alive for the homie to still exist.
See,
So-
that's why I think that if Goldberg's shield is a homie, it's got to be Big Mom's homie.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
I really wonder because also all of Toto Land would cease to exist in most forms, I assume. I don't know. It's a good question. I could also see Oda just being like, "Nah, this rule doesn't apply to Big Mom. She could die, and it's all fine."
What if, how old is Goldberg, I wonder? Because maybe
sure
Goldberg is maybe one of the fathers of one of Big Mom's kids, and that was their, I don't know, wedding gift.
I think he's the same age as like Loki and Gerd and Hyruden. I think they're all like the same generation, so like 70.
Right. Okay, so that's possible.
Dad age.
I don't know why I googled Goldberg Wiki as if I'm going to get something. Go ahead.
Hopkins Hat 15 has our final this piece.
He's 63. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, OPP, how it be? Saul is good, man. I'm glad he isn't breaking anything too bad. I remember being in middle school reading Volume 41. Oof. I was buying the volumes with every penny I had and begging my parents to buy me copies in anticipation for the Luffy versus Lucci fight. Where were you all when you read/watched Robin's flashback for the first time? Here we go.
I have to think about it. I think I actually read it in a Barnes & Noble. I'm pretty sure I read it in a volume.
Oh, you were one of
Barnes
those
& Noble.
people.
Yeah.
The manga cows, yeah.
That's right. I had my little Starbucks. I was sitting there at the cafe, and I was reading all in Water 7 Annie's lobby. Yeah, it was great. I miss Borders.
Yeah.
These Borders too.
They opened
Those
up
coupons.
They opened up
Heck
a Barnes
yeah,
&
man.
Noble near me. I gotta go and do that. I watched it I think that was my initial. It was like close to the end of my marathon to catch up.
And that was 2005, right? So
2007, I think 6. Yeah.
I would say 2006 because I think the anime.
were we just talking about how it was 19 years ago?
No. I
Yes.
meant when I
Yeah.
watched it. I think it was like.
Oh, watched
2006
it.
or
Sorry.
something.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
And you weren't watching it when it was coming out either. So.
I think I caught up like at the very tail end of Ennius Lobby. Like the post Ennius Lobby stuff. I think was just airing. I remember that
really?
filler I had already caught up when that filler was happening before Thriller Bark.
Oh, yeah, I guess because you were in college, too, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in college. I was in fucking college when I read this.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's where I was. I think I was like a sophomore or a junior. One of those.
I was a high school. I was a high school junior, probably.
And
Yeah. No, I would have been a senior. Okay. No, because I was a senior when Thriller Bark was starting, so I was a junior.
I would have been 16 years old. I know. I just looked back. I was like, man, I was 16. Jeez.
I had been translating professionally for about 1 year at that point. That's where.
Okay, so we were all very young.
How'd that go?
Yeah, I don't know. Get back to me. Another 20 years.
I mean, I caught up late, so I watched Ohara during the first half of 2020, so like early pandemic, which was its own vibe for sure.
Yes, it was. Nothing else on this piece, Alex? All right, we are going to do a lightning round, Blue Sky Pia, which is mostly just thoughts, but I want to get them out of the way since our manga recap went extremely long, so we'll go through these quick. First, where are we here? Sorry. Wow, 12 hours ago the chapter came out? That feels like a while ago. Victor Warmergard said, in order to not be too redundant, I'll just say this. My tear ducts are empty, but my heart is full. Here's an unrelated theory. Could Painter somehow be related to Ms. Golden Week or Django's powers? Hypnosis altering reality. This would also explain Iscat turning into a lion. Sure. As we said, lightning round. Unless Alex, you
Cool
agree.
theory.
Yeah.
Nope, that's a cool theory.
Yeah, I think it's a cool theory. Adil, our very own, said, do you folks think this reunion will affect Robin's behavior in a good way? Like her being more carefree now that her inner child has healed a little. I don't know. I love her, like, super grim sense of humor. I've enjoyed that when it comes up, personally.
Yeah, I think we've already seen that happen. Like, we've already been living that.
The softened Robin. Pow says, I love Robin. My tears won't stop. I really love this for her. Bless big silly Saul. I'm so happy for them. Can we get Sunny to reach the moon with the tech introduced in this arc? That's my only question. Don't forget to drink water after chapters like this. How much do they think we're crying? We don't cry like One Piece characters.
Yeah, we're like the Monster Trio, the new one.
Actually, I do cry like a One Piece character. Just not at chapters.
Monster Trio DX. I don't...
My God. Only a few more. Carrie said, I cried. The whole chapter seemed like Saul isn't sure how he ended up in the ocean. That Splash tells me he was thrown in. I have a feeling it was Kuzan since we learned from him. Oh, yeah, we didn't mention that, right? That his ice attack doesn't kill if treated and can be thawed. I mean, we did see that with the Straw Hats in Long Ring Longland. I don't know if anyone has anything to say.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that after this chapter because it feels like I went back and realized that Kuzan's attack was called Ice Time Capsule, which almost feels a little on the nose now. But it does feel like he knows his power well enough to know that if he like completely freezes somebody on an island that is on fire, that person's probably going to thaw.
To some degree, yeah.
Yeah. So I am very much in the park that Kuzan did not mean to fatally attack Saul.
I'll just quickly say that I agree, but I think it should be left like as is. I don't think we should find out.
Agreed.
Like I think we have enough information that we could infer it, but I don't think it should be obvious to the reader personally. But I don't know.
Sort of similar to the SBS, that it was tongue-in-cheekly revealed that Kizaru is the one who
Right.
Yeah.
Gave the
gave Luffy the food.
I don't even think it should be that much. I feel like I don't even want it. I like this, and I think this is enough. And I think it fits Kuzan, and I think when we learn more about Kuzan, we'll be able to look back and say probably. Last two. Jacko says, I just want to say that I absolutely sobbed in this chapter in a way One Piece has not made me cry in a long time. Loved it so much I can't begin to say one of the best chapters post-time skip, bar none. And finally, Tom T. Big D says, Bangerous chapter ever. How many tears did you spill in grams? Sorry, we don't use the metric system here. That'll do it for Piece Together. Thank you all for sending in your questions. We'll spend more time on them next time. Apologies. Let's round off the show. Ready?
I didn't cry any because I got dead-eyed grams.
I've always called you that, Steven.
That's a callback. Yeah.
I know. I got that. This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 846 for December 9th, 2024. I think this has actually been one of our longer manga recaps we've done in a really long time. We were doing like hour plus ones, I feel like an egghead all the time, because there's so much shit going on. Thank you all for listening. Again, subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Check out Kirsten's articles at OnePiecePodcast.com. Kirsten, I'll let you plug all the rest of the stuff that you do right now.
Yeah, I do that. I write some other articles at various places. You can find me on KIRCAREY at Blue Sky, and then just add GTR to that, which is short for guitar, on Instagram. If you are in Chicago, I have 2 shows, not this week, but next week on the 18th and 19th, I believe. So if you like weird music, come on out to those. It'll be a good time. Other than that, I'll probably have some shows with my rock band in the new year. We're hoping to do a tour to the U.S. and parts of Canada. So follow me for more info on that.
Also check out, since this was almost a year ago, believe it or not, Kirsten, the Shamisen special that we did.
The Shami Christmas.
The Shamisen Shamismas or something we called it.
Shamismas.
Shamismas. Everyone loves Shamismas. like exactly a year ago this time, so it should be available on everyone's feed. It's a fun. It's pretty evergreen, I think, for this show.
As a way to praise that very episode, I met a musicology doctoral student who told me he listened to that episode and found it very informative.
Nice.
There you go. Wow, we're getting a lot of doctors lately. Hey, also good Well, I'll get into that segue later, actually. Roger, where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you again for having me. You could find me at RogersBase. I got the brand Unity, so I'm the same on YouTube, on Twitch, on Instagram, and on Blue Sky. I want to give a massive, massive, massive thank you. I just recently hit 400,000 subscribers on YouTube about 2 weeks ago, which has been pretty amazing. Thank you very much. And so it was again, this was the perfect chapter to sort of celebrate it. And in terms of cool things coming up, I will be co-streaming the Game Awards coming up, which will be a lot of fun. Obviously, I'll be doing videos about whatever comes out of Jump Festa. I'll be doing a live reaction to the final chapter of the year, which will be in 2 weeks. And then at the end of the year, I always do a fun thing where I sort of go back to the predictions that I made for this year in One Piece all the way back in January. And then I do a video about it. This one is going to be kind of messed up. There's a lot of stuff that I got wrong, but that's great. That's the fun of it. So look forward to that video, and I will catch everybody in the new year. Thank you again for having me.
When I get one right, I think it's always more surprising to me, and it happens sometimes.
I mean, I was
I don't remember saying that.
I felt very certain that Kuma would not make it out of Egghead alive, so that when he did, I was very happy. But all of my predictions were wrong after that.
Is he?
Yeah, I don't know if we can call this alive.
Well, then I'll get a half point maybe. Ones. I'm going to call it alive. He witnessed, even if his humanity isn't there. I feel like he witnessed Bonnie become Nika, and so I feel like there's something to be said there. Yeah.
You know those chihuahuas that are 19 years old and they're deaf and blind?
They don't know what's going on.
They don't really do much. They kind of just sit there and vibe.
How did you make Kuma even sadder?
That's Kuma.
That is Kuma right now.
No.
The geriatric chihuahua.
Yeah.
That
He's
episode
there
title.
Smiling.
Kuma the geriatric chihuahua. That's the new Goop Troop. Blurb.
Oh man.
Steven, where can people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social, where I've been doing my 3-chapter-a-day reread of the series. Getting towards the end of Onigashima right now, so it's it's a lot to cover in 1 year. As for One Piece news, I guess we'll just say this here, since as Roger made reference to it, the last chapter of the year will be in 2 weeks. Oda is taking a break next week, and so I believe we do have a go-ahead sign from Mr. Greg Werner that we will be doing an SGS next week, so you can look forward to that since it's been a little while. We'll get his thoughts on stuff. Maybe find out what he has to say about Yao leaving, as Zach mentioned at the intro. All kinds of callbacks here. That's what's coming up. And then once he does come back, of course, it will be the first of the 2 holiday combined issues, or double issues, as some people call them. We're going to be having a lot of breaks from One Piece in the near future. Nothing new, sadly, but just so you know what the deal is for the holiday season.
These happen every single year. These are always the ones that we're trying to plan, and it's always really difficult. What was I going to? Oh, so this is actually your 20th SGS, so congratulations on that ahead of time.
Cool.
Give you praise.
We're as close to the start of the SGS as 1983. It's the same time.
I'm just gonna. This is the lowest I've ever felt on the show. Guys, I don't have any brain left. It's gone. Between work and 2 kids and a dog, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Bitch.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's my thing. Steve, fine. You could plug a thing, I guess.
Sure. I don't know what I was going to say there. You were just saying plug a thing. Hey, I'm online. Steve Yurko, most places. Pick your poison. I'm also on 4Kids Flashback with Tara Sands. I'm on ProCD Plays Games with Sungwon. Upcoming conventions. I'll be at Holiday Matsuri in Orlando, Florida in a couple weeks. I'm just going there as assistant, but I'll be hanging around. I know Vero's going to be there as well. If you see us, make sure to say hey. Would love to hear from you. And I'll be at MagFest as well. I know we got a lot of fans in that neck of the woods, so I will be there in late January.
Always fun. Alex.
Follow me on Blue Sky at dude!.bluesky. whatever it is. Weeb Simpsons is now on Blue Sky. I've been posting. I posted a new thing this past week. So enjoy. It's back in Blue Sky form. I will also be at MagFest doing Super Art Fight. The date and time is unknown, but if you see Steve, I'll probably be there too.
That's just a general rule. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Steve, Roger, Kirsten, Steven. You can find us at OnePiecePodcast.com. Articles, podcasts, lots of things. Please check out our website if you haven't. The final installation of Greg Werner's treatise is available now. OnePiecePodcast.com/the end of One Piece. I almost forgot to mention it. Please check it out. You can now read all 80 plus pages of whatever it ended up being on our website exclusively. You could also check me out at ZachLogan.com or Zach.OnePiecePodcast.com. You can check out the podcast at OnePiecePodcast.com. That's all on Blue Sky. You can check us out anywhere else at One Piece Podcast, including on Instagram, Facebook. We're trying to relaunch. Please, I don't know what's going on there, so whatever. And anywhere else you get your social media. Or you could call us at our phone number, which is 347-497-MAJI. That phone number again, 347-497-6254. Call anytime. With your questions, comments, and theories, but make sure you're wearing the same outfit you did the first time you did Piece Together. Otherwise, I won't be able to recognize you. We have some really cool guests coming up. Dr. Gomez, we were speaking about doctors, is going to be back at the end of the year for the last chapter. Crystal, I think, will also be joining us in January, I think. I don't know what we're doing at the very end of the year, but as Stephen mentioned, we have an SGS coming up next week, which are my favorite shows because I get to be a listener, and it's always super informative. So please listen to that. But until then, my name is Zach.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
No callbacks?
Oh yeah. My breath sucks. I gotta go get a singular stick of gum.
And I'm gonna get a singular cigarette.
Rule of threes, baby.
Man. Maji.